5 years ago, mysterious gates to other worlds suddenly started appearing all over the globe, allowing nightmarish creatures that are immune to conventional military weapons to pour out. It was total chaos. Around the same time, the occupation of hunter emerged, people chosen to enter these gates and exterminate those monsters. These gates are ranked from high to low: gold, silver, and bronze. Gold hunters are the elites, possessing godlike power, fame, and endless wealth. Everything you could ever dream of, right? Meanwhile, our guy here is busy watching an idol, Hirosaka Renji, explain how to become a top-tier gold hunter just like him. Suddenly, a 5-star gold test gate glistens right next to Subaru. He's standing there, completely dazed, about to reach out and step inside when his brother, a 13-year-old brat named Aerial Tiger, comes charging in like a wrecking ball. He shoved Subaru aside with all his might and jumped into the gate himself. Just like that, Subaru's golden ticket to a better life was stolen right from under his nose. From that day on, Subaru's life did a complete 180. After coming out of that gate, his bratty little brother became Japan's youngest gold hunter. His fame skyrocketed, and he was surrounded by girls. I was dripping in gold and silver, while poor Subaru started living the life of a bug, bullied at school by his ungrateful brother and his gang of thugs. It got so bad that he was wetting his pants. At home, he was stuffed into a storage shed that was more like a bug cage, sweltering in the summer, freezing in the winter, while being abused by his parents and his brother, working his fingers to the bone day and night. Sometimes, they'd treat him like a pet, ordering him around to do errands in the middle of the night. Subaru couldn't even fight back. He didn't have the strength. I had no choice but to take the money thrown at his face and go buy them water. Walking down the road, feeling utterly defeated, he thought about his miserable life and that brat's arrogant look. He felt nothing but despair. He pictured himself as an old man, weak, trembling, and still forced to kneel, holding out his hands to take pocket change for doing menial chores. He just wanted to die and get it over with. Subaru brooded over his bitter past. If only he had just bolted into that gold gate back then, he'd have everything by now. What's the point of living? And wouldn't you know it? As soon as he wished for the end, he ran into 3 of his brother's goons who were just coming back from farming monsters. They were already ugly, and those scars made them look even more vicious. They were in a foul mood, and running into Subaru was just the perfect way to vent their stress. Subaru might be a coward, but he wasn't stupid. Knowing he was about to get a beating, he tried to scramble away, but how could he possibly outrun them? They chased him down like a dog, even slicing off his arm. They toyed with him like an animal. A moment ago he wanted to die, but now that death was staring him in the face, he clung to life. They kicked him into a dead-end alley, and he collapsed, sobbing his heart out. But they weren't about to let him go. They started stomping and beating him until blood was splattered everywhere. I thought he was finally done for. Just as one of them was about to finish him off with a bronze-rank skill, a gate suddenly appeared, slicing the guy in half. The guy was dead instantly. The gate right in front of Subaru was a 5-star, bronze rank, but strangely, it started cracking and shifted into silver. And it didn't stop there. It kept cracking, turning into gold. Then, something unprecedented happened. The gate shook violently and transformed into a rainbow-colored gate. Subaru stared at it, like he'd finally found his salvation. This time, no one was going to steal this from him. He crawled, step by agonizing step, trying to get inside. The 2 remaining bronze thugs weren't about to let that happen. They unleashed their skills to stop him, severing Subaru's leg. But Subaru, like some kind of legless Levi Ackerman, he wasn't about to give up that easily. Adrenaline surged tenfold and he threw himself into the gate. He had to take it all. The rainbow gate slammed shut. Subaru collapsed on the floor. A monster slowly emerged, flashing a cunning smile. The rainbow trial had begun. Subaru lay face down, totally clueless. The monster approached and poked a finger through his head. A spark of electricity surged through him. The system announced, "Updating, body upgrade initiated, vision corrected." His severed legs grew back, and his heart and lungs were fully restored. Subaru's eyes snapped open, and he sat up abruptly. His eyes met the monster's, and he jumped back in terror. The monster turned around, walked over to a chair, and sat down. Subaru was still reeling like, "What is going on? Where am I? Who am I?" After his internal system finished loading, he finally realized he was inside the rainbow gate, and the monster sitting casually with its feet up on the chair was the master of this domain. Subaru was shaking, remembering his idol's trial story. He had to face a golden knight and defeat him in sword combat to gain power. Subaru broke into a cold sweat. Did he have to defeat that creature? The monster, resting its head on its hand, seemed to lose patience. It sighed and called out to Subaru, scratching its head, asking if his body was supposed to be fully recovered by now. Or did your brain get waterlogged? Subaru, singled out, broke into a cold sweat and stuttered that he was fine. The slow-witted guy still hadn't fully processed that he was actually having a conversation with this monster. While he was questioning his own existence, the monster waved its hand, telling him to come over. Follow the trial protocol. If you can land one hit on me, kid, I'll grant you power. Subaru blurted out, asking who the monster was. The monster was like, "What the hell? Stop with the roundabout garbage already." Subaru scrambled to explain, "There are only 3 types of gates: gold, silver, and bronze. I've never seen or even heard of a rainbow gate before." The monster, who had a short fuse, didn't wait for him to finish. "I don't give a damn." With a flick of its hand, a massive wave of power blasted through Subaru. The rainbow gate reappeared. Subaru didn't dare move a muscle, clutching his head in fear. How on earth could he possibly land a hit on a monster like this? The monster was losing its patience. It kept drumming its fingers on the armrest and barked at Subaru, demanding he get his ass up and start fighting. "I want to get this crap over with and go home to sleep. This is a total waste of time." The monster berated Subaru relentlessly. Subaru, trembling, replied that he wanted to stand up too, but his legs were shaking so violently that he couldn't get up at all. The monster brother laughed like he'd just heard a joke, clutching his face in helplessness. "Are you kidding me? How did a loser like this even get chosen? Is this protagonist aura or something?" Having no choice, the monster waved its hand, and weapons instantly rained down from the sky surrounding Subaru. The protagonist, thinking he was about to die, screamed like he was in labor. It was practically serving food on a silver platter. The monster pointed at the weapons and told him if he was too afraid to fight, he should just use that pile. "If you still can't do it after all this, just find another door, go straight, turn right, and get the hell home." Subaru trembled, torn between fighting the monster or returning to his old life. He stared blankly for a moment, then shakily dragged his feet toward the door. The monster brother stroked his chin. "Seriously? You're actually leaving?" He threw in a few more insults to crush the weakling Subaru's self-esteem. "Isn't the reason you opened this door because you wanted power? You're no better than a filthy bug." The monster's mockery still rang in the protagonist's ears, especially the part about being a bug. He started thinking back to the past. All those times people called him a bug, trampled him under their feet, and treated his life as worth less than cattle. The monster watched him, seeing he didn't seem to want to turn back. It sighed with annoyance. "Whatever, I'm going to sleep. You can stay like that for the rest of your life. Spend your whole life on your knees. Just deal with the consequences of your own choices." Tears streamed down Subaru's face. He faintly saw his own reflection as a 70-year-old man in the door. He gritted his teeth and pounded on the door. This act surprised the monster, who craned his neck to see what the hell the kid was trying to do. Subaru, as if gone mad, kept hitting the door incessantly. He hit and screamed, cursing, "What the hell is this? What the hell is going on? What the fuck? You pieces of trash! You're all so arrogant!" The monster brother, seeing some progress, lit up with excitement. "Am I finally going to be able to sleep? Go on, Subaru." The other side clenched his fists and screamed, cursing heaven and earth. "Do you think just because you have power, you can do whatever the hell you want? Is it okay to call other people bugs? You bastards!" The monster found it increasingly interesting, taking the opportunity to add fuel to the fire, relentlessly mocking him. It laughed loudly. "Of course it is, you idiot." The bitterness reached its peak. Subaru screamed, pouring out his misery. "It hurts when you hit me too, treating me like trash. Why are you guys so damn cruel?" The monster laughed more and more gleefully. It had found Subaru's pressure point and kept prodding it. Bug this, bug that. 2 bugs later, Subaru was even more infuriated. He screamed, "Shut up!" It was as if he'd been pumped full of adrenaline, his courage multiplied by 10 billion. Before the monster's expectant gaze, Subaru lunged forward without hesitation. He punched the monster right in the face. Only after the punch landed did he realize he had actually done it. The monster brother stood up, satisfied, and patted Subaru's shoulder, cheering loudly. "Great! That's it! See, you can do it if you put your heart into it." I could feel the intense hatred in that punch of yours. I wasn't wrong about you. You're approved. Suddenly, the monster bit down hard on Subaru's shoulder, shocking him. A surge of power rushed in, and Subaru screamed in pain, thinking the monster was going to kill him. But this time, Subaru was different. He didn't just sit there waiting to die. He snapped back to his senses and bit down hard on the monster's shoulder, too. The monster laughed joyfully. "Interesting. I'll give you a few more favors." A rainbow flow of power, more turbulent than before, surged through him until Subaru couldn't even bite anymore. He collapsed. The test was confirmed as passed. Subaru's physical profile was now that of a hunter. The monster looked at its handiwork with satisfaction, said its name was Vanquis, and bid him goodbye, hoping to meet again. Vanquis slowly vanished. This time it was genuinely happy. The protagonist, Ares Subaru, had become a hunter. His current rank was a product of inheriting the power of Vanquis, the vampire ancestor. Waking up groggily, a series of skills updated and appeared before his eyes. Blood Mold, level 1, plus a bonus rainbow skill, and a host of others like Blood Eater. Those who hate the radiance, the ones under the shadow of the sun. Subaru's eyes twinkled. He was still dizzy, muttering, "Rainbow." Then a series of notifications shifted. The trial gate disappeared. Subaru was stunned when he read the line. Must exit the door within 30 seconds. The floor was collapsing, and he wasn't even moving. "Get up!" He watched the door gradually disappear. Then he fell freely downward. Outside, the two thugs looked at the shattered rainbow portal and assumed, that damn bug Subaru must have failed. What a waste. Just as they were about to walk away, there was a commotion in the debris of the portal behind them. The protagonist, a handsome, cool version of Subaru with his legs intact, charged out. The two thugs were shocked by his appearance, gritting their teeth in frustration. That bug. Did he actually become a hunter? The two yelled, questioning Subaru, asking if he had become a master. Subaru was dazed, not yet recovered from the shock. He vaguely remembered receiving power from Vanquis. Without waiting for Subaru to speak, the two thugs drew their swords and swung at him. But he wasn't the useless bug he used to be. It was as if someone had possessed him. He leaned to the side, easily dodging the attack. He hurriedly raised his hand, telling them to wait a moment. The other guy, shamelessly hypocritical, accused him of being the one who robbed the door. Subaru was confused. That door was his, wasn't it? The guy swung his sword again, continuing the attack. But in Subaru's eyes, the attacks were as slow as a snail. Subaru leaned down, easily dodging the sword strike. Now he could see through all of the guy's sword paths. No matter how many times he swung, Subaru dodged them all. The other thug stood there with his mouth wide open. Seeing that he couldn't land a single hit, the attacker grew more frustrated and kept hacking away at Subaru. Seizing the chance, he grabbed the guy's arm just as he was swinging his sword. He told the guy to stop. The thug was taken aback at first, but when he saw Subaru's legs shaking like a leaf, his confidence surged back, and he gave Subaru a menacing, twisted grin. Subaru, timid as a mouse, got flustered by the thug's intimidation and let go while apologizing. The guy took that chance to punch Subaru in the back, then followed up with another blow to his face. While beating him up, the thug kept spewing insults, calling him a pathetic loser and saying he wasn't fit to even stand next to him. Subaru thought his face was going to be smashed to bits, but it didn't hurt as much as he expected. A status window appeared before his eyes, a system guide. It explained that the HP bar represents his life force. If it hits 0, he loses his powers, so he needs to avoid taking damage as much as possible. Suddenly, it dawned on Subaru. This was the vision of the Master of Masters. The punch didn't hurt because he had truly become a master. The thug, seeing that his attack had "do nothing at all," gritted his teeth in frustration. The other thug tried to hold him back, but he wouldn't listen. He was fired up. He couldn't stand that this guy, who was literally wetting his pants earlier, was now standing up to him, and he began using his special move, Red Rose. He channeled energy into his hand and hurled it at Subaru. The attack hit him square on, and his face started bleeding. Subaru winced, burning with pain, thinking he was about to meet his end. Subaru checked his status bar again, panicked. "I've lost so much blood. If I take a few more hits, I'm toast." The thug was stunned. "Are you kidding me? My red rose is powerful enough to destroy a car. And yet that bug Subaru took the full brunt of it and only suffered that much damage. It was unbelievable. The other thug kept trying to talk sense into him, telling him to turn back, that the gate Subaru went into was clearly even stronger than a gold gate. But the guy wasn't listening to a word of it. Subaru is only level 1. We have to take him out now. If he levels up, we might not even have a 0.1% chance of winning. We have to finish him off now, Subaru. Not knowing what the two of them were whispering about, Subaru looked around, planning to take the chance to run, but before he could even move, he was bound by a pile of ropes. This was the binding rope technique of the other guy. The two of them talked it over and decided to team up. Subaru, tied up, couldn't move a muscle. The guy with the sword charged at him again. Subaru was in a total panic. He had no clue how to use his special move. He had to do something. Just as he closed his eyes, waiting to be stabbed, some force activated his ability. A bunch of red swords sprouted from his body and pierced the thug. The guy coughed up blood and collapsed. The one controlling the move was Vanquis. He'd just activated blood control. He considered himself a responsible master, feeling he even had to mentor his successor. Even though Vanquis was foul-mouthed and complaining, he still taught Subaru how to use his power. Blood control allows the user to manipulate blood conditions for 10 seconds. The blood turned into swords earlier, that's all it does, he explained. The rest was left to the protagonist's imagination. When the 10 seconds were up, the swords turned back into blood. Vanquis reminded Subaru to ignite his inner rage, then vanished. Not giving Subaru a moment to breathe, the thug, despite being seriously wounded, struggled to get up and swung his sword again. Subaru dodged, backing away, unable to believe how tough this guy was. He can still fight? The guy spat blood, hurling endless insults at Subaru. He cursed him. Just die already, you murderer! You killed our friend! The more he spoke, the more vicious he became. He pointed at him. Subaru, why don't you just die sooner? Even if you die, no one would be sad or miss you. Subaru was used to such insults. He fell silent, thinking of Vanquis' words. Ignite your rage! This time he wouldn't silently take the abuse anymore. A rainbow light emanated from Subaru. He made up his mind and launched his attack. With just one punch, Subaru easily shattered the thug's sword. Then, he landed a clean punch to his face, sending him flying 8 meters away, dragging his face against the wall before he went airborne. The other guy watched his friend flying through the air like a piece of trash and started trembling. Seeing Subaru charging toward him, filled with intensity, the guy used his binding rope technique to run away, dragging the other thug along. Subaru couldn't believe his eyes. The guy actually ran away? The thug ran for his life, terrified of being chased. He couldn't believe what he just saw. That punch was insanely strong. What the hell was that? He's only level 1, that useless piece of trash. What kind of monster did that Subaru get his power from? Subaru fell to his knees, arms raised in joy. He had won. His first ever victory. He turned to look at the mess in the alley, the corpse of Kunisaki, cut in two. What am I supposed to do with all this? The next morning, the police discovered the condition of Kunisaki's body. Being cut in two like that surely wasn't the work of a human. They suspected it might be a monster from the underworld. Just then, Subaru's idol, Hirasaka Renji, arrived. He claimed he had scouted the area. There were no signs of underworld monsters anywhere. They found Kunisaki Sutaro's master registration card. Hirasaka Renji speculated that whoever could slice a bronze master in half must be at least as strong as a silver master. Hirasaka Renji felt a strange turmoil in his heart, but it wasn't his own. It was his master's, Louis. Hirasaka Renji handed the card back to the officer. This isn't the time for masters to fight among themselves. Our duty is to destroy as many gates as possible. Hirasaka Renji looked up at the sky. A clock was counting down, signaling that something terrible was about to happen. It was broad daylight, but Subaru still hadn't come home. Aerial Tiger, his close brother, every man for himself, stormed into Subaru's bug-riddled room, cursing and complaining that Subaru hadn't even read his texts. He pulled out his phone. He suddenly scrolled past a news update from 2 hours ago. A bronze master had been assassinated by another master. Tiger scrolled down to check the details and recognized a familiar face. This guy was one of the 3 who bullied Subaru. Aerial Tiger suddenly had a bad feeling. He thought back to that time a gold gate had appeared right in front of Subaru. If I hadn't snatched it from him, maybe Subaru's life would be different now. Tiger gritted his teeth. "No way!" and slammed his fist, smashing Subaru's bug-riddled room. That bug, did he actually become a master? At the headquarters of the Japan Awakening Association, the place for awakened god-keepers, Subaru timidly looked around, feeling completely out of his element. Wait, seriously? Everyone here is a god-keeper? He walked toward the registration desk. In Japan, entering a gate without being an official association member is a crime, so if he wanted to get stronger, he had no choice but to sign up. Yesterday's incident was being treated as a murder. Investigating the deaths of other god-keepers is part of the job, and it's highly likely a golden-ranked powerhouse is going to show up. If that guy Taiga is involved, you're dead meat. You've got to clear as many gates as you can to level up and get your head in the game. The guide started droning on about the rules, but Subaru barely paid attention. He'd already done his homework at an internet cafe and had 3 key things to remember. First, you have to level up to break gates. Second, the more stars a gate has, the harder it is to clear. Third, you can exchange those stars for cash. Subaru suddenly remembered the star he dropped yesterday, the one named Watari. He asked the guide if he could trade it for money. His pockets were completely empty, and while he felt a bit guilty about it, he didn't really have a choice. The guide, who had been cheerful a second ago, suddenly darkened. She glared at the star, examining it closely, and demanded to know where Subaru got it. Subaru was terrified, stuttering as he tried to come up with an excuse. Yesterday, right after he awakened, a gate suddenly appeared in front of him, and he got this after clearing it. The guide explained that non-members who break into a gate face 5 years in prison or a fine of up to 1 million yen. Subaru turned pale. He had been so careless. I had no idea the penalty was this severe. His mind went blank. What was he supposed to do? Meanwhile, that scumbag Taiga, Subaru's cousin, was strutting down the street, visiting the police station to ask about yesterday's assassination. Back at the office, Subaru managed to exchange the star for cash after all. Even though a non-member breaking a gate is a serious crime, the guide had decided to look the other way, so he was in the clear. After successfully getting the money, he was shocked by the amount. He never expected a godkeeper to get paid this much. 1 star was 1 million yen, so 5 stars would be over 100 million. It felt like a dream. Subaru had risked his life for that money, but he needed to find another gate. However, his eyes caught sight of a barber shop and a clothing store, and he looked down at his own body. He looked like a wreck, so he decided to spruce himself up. The old saying is true, money really can buy anything, and with a bit of cash, Subaru looked like a totally different person. No longer the pathetic, nerdy loser he used to be. Subaru walked out carrying bag after bag. He sat down at a cafe, waiting for his drink, feeling a sensation he had never experienced before. It was absolutely intoxicating. He'd bought his own clothes, gotten his own haircut, the first time he'd ever done such things, and sat in a cafe sipping a caramel macchiato. It had been way too long since he'd tasted anything sweet. Subaru suddenly felt emotional, wiping away tears as he thought about his past life, living like a maggot. Now, things were different, and for the first time in his life, he was enjoying true freedom. He gripped the cup tight, making a vow. After finishing his drink, he would find another gate, and once he cleared it, he'd come back here. He was a godkeeper now, no longer a maggot. But just as he was getting comfortable, a shadow fell over him. That scumbag Taiga had found him, smashing through the cafe window and charging in. He grabbed Subaru by the collar and hurled him outside with brutal force. Before he could even brace himself, Subaru was already bleeding, and as he realized he was about to crash into a mother and child, he frantically used his special skill. Blood control! He held himself back from flying any further and screamed at the mother and child to run. He had only taken 1 hit and was already severely injured. Subaru cursed under his breath. Damn it, 1,000 times damn it, as blood poured out of him. This was going to be a nightmare. Taiga, emanating a murderous aura, stepped toward him. It was unbelievable that someone so strong would care about a guy like Subaru, who had only just become a godkeeper. Subaru gritted his teeth, suppressing the bleeding. He was going to fight a golden-ranked godkeeper, even if he was only level 1, he wouldn't give up. The two started clashing, causing traffic on the street to jam, especially since his opponent was the golden godkeeper, Ares Taiga. The guy didn't give a flying damn about anything. Subaru asked how the hell he tracked him down, but Taiga just smirked. I didn't even bother to answer, just threw a punch at Subaru's face and told him to figure it out himself. Subaru barely dodged, stumbling back. He shouldn't have used his phone to check the bank transfer. The GPS on the phone had given him away, though Taiga just thought it was pathetic and funny. He activated his special skill, Golden Arm, his right arm encased in gleaming golden armor. Even a fool like Subaru knew the real fight had begun. He closed his eyes, feeling the vanquish within him. It gave him another hint about his blood control. It was a technique that turned HP into blood, allowing him to manipulate it freely. But if he overused it, his HP bar would hit empty fast. Subaru didn't need to win today. He just needed to survive. That was the only thing on his mind. The gap in power between Subaru and Taiga was 22 levels. A direct fight was like throwing eggs at a stone. Ares Taiga unleashed his golden impact technique. He sent an explosion flying toward Subaru, but he used his blood to create a tether, launching himself into the air to try and escape. Taiga wasn't stupid. He realized immediately that Subaru was copying his underling's technique and reacted instantly, taking off into the air to land a strike on Subaru from above. But this time, he was fast enough to dodge, causing Taiga's attack to smash straight into the ground. Subaru exhaled. That was close. He'd almost been finished. This guy was way too strong. One hit and he would have been toast. Ga may look simple, but he's already analyzing Subaru's abilities. Based on his initial assessment, Subaru has the power to shoot strings from his hands, which he can control at will to move around or grab objects. What a complete loser, Ga sneered, charging toward Subaru again, determined to end him. Subaru stayed calm, using his HP to create a cloud of smoke to shroud himself. He seized the opening. He slipped behind Ga and used the same punch that took down Sawatari, but it didn't even faze him. Instead, his own hand started bleeding and he let out a sharp cry of pain. Ga took the opportunity to swipe his hand across Subaru's chest. Blood splattered everywhere as Subaru's HP dropped again. Subaru clutched his chest, bleeding uncontrollably, while Ga just gave a cold, mocking laugh. Just as Ga reached for Subaru's head to finish the game, sharp spikes suddenly erupted from the ground toward him. But Subaru wasn't done yet. He hurled the blood that had just splattered everywhere at Ga. He turned the blood into bones and solid masses, attacking Ga with every ounce of strength he had left, trying to create the hardest blood constructs possible. But nothing worked against that guy. Subaru was spiraling into despair. Ga was simply on a different level in speed, strength, and defense. Ga crushed the blood construct Subaru had just made with a stomp. As Ga stepped closer, Subaru stood there, dazed. Even as a god-tier user facing death, no matter how many techniques he used, he still couldn't beat Ga. Subaru watched as Ga's hand clamped onto his face. Ga couldn't let Subaru live any longer. If he leveled up, it would become a real headache. He had to kill him now before he could spawn. Subaru watched the fist coming at him. Ga swung with full force, sending Subaru flying. But contrary to what he expected, Subaru actually blocked it. He had used almost all of his remaining HP to create something soft and sticky to cushion the blow, like a giant airbag designed to disperse the impact. The sticky substance clung to Ga's hand and started spreading. Ga struggled and thrashed, but he couldn't pull it off. Subaru imagined it as an indestructible rubber material. He glanced at his MP bar, which was dropping rapidly. This was the critical moment. Subaru raised his hand and summoned more globs of blood. The blood control effect only lasts 10 seconds. Even if it drained all his MP, he had to stop Ga. The blood globs clung to Ga, pinning him down and freezing him in place. Ga was furious, but there was nothing he could do. What else could he do but stand there looking like a lunatic? While Ga stood there fuming, Subaru took the chance to bolt. His goal was just to survive those 10 seconds. Once the effect wore off, the blood returned to its normal state. Ga tried to give chase, but Subaru created a smokescreen that disoriented him. Gia gritted his teeth in frustration, tensing his muscles. He'd been played like a total fool by Subaru. I was just about to chase after Subaru again when he was suddenly blocked. It was Hirasaka Renji, accompanied by Udu and Shikishima. Even Ga realized he had pushed things a bit too far. But how could he just give up that easily? I tried to chase Subaru, but before he could even boast, he was chained up from behind. Ga broke into a cold sweat. No way! All the golden tier users were here? Hirasaka Renji held his sword to Ga's neck to force him to stand down. Ga gritted his teeth. He couldn't keep acting like a wild animal anymore. Meanwhile, after Subaru got away, he ran for his life until he reached the rooftop of a building. He'd actually managed to escape. Subaru gritted his teeth. He couldn't even put a dent in that guy. If he got caught again, he was dead for sure. He looked down at his tattered clothes. He had just bought them. All his other clothes were still at the cafe. Subaru sat on the roof thinking, shopping is fun, but he steeled his resolve. To regain his freedom, he had to fight. He didn't want to go back to that pathetic worm-like life ever again. He was going to get stronger at a certain portal. Just like before, you bug, you'll end up getting stronger at some gate or another. A girl was arguing with a group of people. She pointed at the portal, firmly claiming that she had reserved it first. You have to book it on the website. The group didn't bother listening. They didn't give a damn about reservations. How could a weak girl stop them? They told her she'd better just walk away and leave the portal to them. She wasn't a pushover either. She seemed extremely confident, clenching her fists and getting into a fighting stance. She was a god-tier user, Amamisa Sasaka. She talked a big game just a second ago. But the next second, she was getting pummeled by the group. Even they were questioning reality. Being this weak and acting all tough? It's a miracle you've survived this long, Amamisa Sasaka. She was only level 8, forced to go up against a team that was level 13. Obviously, she didn't stand a chance. The guys didn't hold back, mocking her, saying she'd need to grow up before she could take them on. Amamisa Sasaka was frustrated but couldn't say a word. Their skills countered hers perfectly, leaving her helpless. They relied on their numbers to bully her, telling her to just give up on the portal. They said someone with no talent like her shouldn't even exist in this world. Hearing such hurtful words, Sasaka felt a pang of sadness. In the past, she'd been forced out of her team because she lacked talent. That was exactly why she would never give up against these people. She refused to admit defeat. The blonde guy clicked his tongue, annoyed. He raised his hand, ready to finish it. Amamisa Sasaka thought she was done for. Just then, Subaru appeared out of nowhere. He politely asked the group, who were deciding who should enter the portal based on suitability, if he could join in. All eyes turned to Subaru. He nervously raised his hand, asking if he could participate. They were all annoyed, sharing the same question. Who the hell is this guy? The blonde guy walked up arrogantly, getting right in Subaru's face. Where the hell did you come from? He grabbed Subaru's collar, intending to drag him away, but Subaru quickly used his blood control technique, sending the guy face first into the ground. Subaru growled, I don't have much time to waste here. I have to get stronger at any cost. The others watching were stunned, speechless. They glared at him and asked for his level. When Subaru replied that he was only level 1, they didn't even believe him, thinking he was just full of it. They're speculating that you must have some long-range skill to strike them. If you were actually level 1, they could just crush you by the sheer difference in rank. They immediately rushed you all at once, but with his insanely hacked-out techniques, Subaru easily had them kissing the dirt after a single clash. In his eyes, those guys were crawling slower than snails. It didn't take long for him to wipe them all out. The blonde guy who was taken down first woke up, hid in a corner, and seized the chance to use his own secret skill. He pulled out a gun and started spraying bullets at Subaru. I thought he had him, but no. Subaru's blood control neutralized everything. He didn't even move an inch before landing another punch to that guy's face, shattering his glasses. As he coughed up blood and collapsed, Amamisa Sasaka stood by, mouth agape. In her eyes, Subaru finished them all in one hit. What kind of monster was he? If he's truly level 1, his skill rank must be astronomical. Amamisa Sasaka wondered if Subaru's rank was perhaps the Golden God Lord. On the side, Subaru stripped the clothes off those guys to wear them himself. His own gear was completely shredded. After tidying up, he walked toward the gate. Under Amamisa Sasaka's stunned gaze, Subaru gave a slight nod as a greeting and just walked right through. Sasaka felt like something was wrong, but by the time she realized it, it was too late. Her gate had just been snatched away by Subaru. Subaru stepped inside and a notification board appeared. Karakan Volcano Dungeon. Difficulty 2 stars. Subaru let out an O and looked around. So this is what it looks like inside a gate. Even though this place is dangerous and monster encounters are a given, the view is actually pretty nice. Just as he was marveling at it, the gate behind him suddenly slammed open, hitting him square in the head. Subaru, in pain, stared at the person who had just barged in, Amamisa Sasaka, with a confused look. What the heck is this? Amamisa Sasaka walked in as if it were the most natural thing in the world and locked the gate. A notice popped up. Gate locked. The God Lord cannot leave the screen until the boss is defeated. Amamisa Sasaka laughed playfully. Now even if those freaks wake up, they can't get in. Subaru was still trying to process what was happening. Didn't he just rightfully claim the gate? Where the heck did this girl come from? Amamiza Sasaka spoke up, denying his claim. She said she had already reserved this gate for herself. But the guys outside always tried to steal gates found and registered on a website, and god lords could reserve the right to raid them there. Subaru ahead in realization. He couldn't clear the dungeon if he did it all by himself. I hurriedly apologized to Amamisa Sasaka, explaining it was his first time in a gate and begging her to let him join. He had to level up at any cost. Seeing how desperate he was, Sasaka believed he was a true level 1 and agreed to let him join. She knew that feeling, the desire to become stronger by any means. So, Subaru got to join Sasaka, but on the condition that when swapping the loot, she'd take 70% and he'd get 30%. Subaru didn't overthink it and agreed right away. Then it was time for introductions. Amamisa Sasaka introduced herself. Subaru was about to say his own name, but suddenly remembered he was currently a wanted criminal, accused of assassinating a god lord. He got flustered, and in his hurry, he blurted out the name Vanquish. Just as they were about to set off, a rock was thrown from behind Amamisa Sasaka. Subaru shouted a warning, intending to use his technique to help her, but Sasaka turned around and easily punched the rock to dust. While the two weren't paying attention, a group of goblins and kobolds appeared. Amamiza Sasaka fired up, charged in to deal with them, shouting that for a god lord to defeat underworld monsters, they needed to enhance their physique, push reflexes beyond biological limits, and above all, have a secret skill. Subaru stood to the side, watching Sasaka nimbly use her technique to take down the small demons, his mouth hanging open in admiration. Before long, all the small demons were quickly dispatched. Subaru watched, full of awe, as she took them down with single punches. So strong! On the other side, Amamisa Sasaka's confidence skyrocketed after downing the demons. Her skill was to stun the enemy, and her punch technique was unstoppable in close combat, even if long-range skills could counter her. Just as she was bragging, suddenly, a larger group of demons appeared. Amamiza Sasaka's stun skill only lasted for 3 seconds after impact. In other words, she had to finish the enemy or escape within 3 seconds, or else... Well, you know what happens. Amamiza Sasaka felt like crying. She was surrounded by demons. She had to open her mouth and beg Subaru to save her. Subaru stood there like a statue, listening to Sasaka's plea perfectly. "Leave it to me," he said, not moving an inch. It took Subaru a moment to grasp Sasaka's situation. He realized her move had a time limit, just like his blood control. Currently, Sasaka was too far away from him. She was still right in the middle of the demons, so he couldn't let his blood blades fly around freely. He had to try something new. Subaru used blood control to launch blood strings toward the demons, tightening them around their necks. He braced his core, tightened his glutes, and took a stance right in front of Sasaka's stunned eyes. Then, he pulled the strings with all his might, sending the demons crashing to the ground, dead. A glow of light enveloped Subaru. The system notified him that he had leveled up, 4 levels in one go. His blood control technique also hit level 2, increasing the time limit to 15 seconds and boosting its effectiveness. Subaru checked himself. The wounds he got from that blonde guy were already healed. His strength increased, and his HP and MP were fully restored. This is amazing! So this is what leveling up feels like. It's so good! Amamisa Sasaka ran over, looking at the surrounding monsters that had turned to dust, surprised and unable to believe Subaru had taken them all out alone. "What kind of monster are you?" Seeing Sasaka, Subaru's eyes sparkled, and he praised her technique as truly wonderful. Amamisa Sasaka didn't have a clue what he was talking about. She was the one who should have been saying that. Subaru was confused. Sasaka's technique stunned opponents without exception, right? Sasaka added, but it only works on opponents 3 levels lower than me. If they're higher, the duration is less than 3 seconds. Subaru explained, but wouldn't that make you invincible if you used the skill every 3 seconds in a one-on-one fight, Amamiza? If it's more, the time will be less than 3 seconds, Subaru explained. But wouldn't that make her invincible if she used her ultimate technique every 3 seconds in a solo fight, Amamiza? Sasaka stood frozen for a moment after hearing that, finally realizing she had just learned something absolutely insane. Subaru pointed at the tray of ice where a few monsters were still standing. Sasaka, feeling a surge of new confidence, told him to just stand there. She rushed over to the cliffside. Sasaka followed the theory Subaru had just taught her. Strike first, stun them, wait 3 seconds, then strike again. Sure enough, the monster couldn't react. She kept punching like that and finally managed to take the monster down. Her face lit up with joy, her eyes sparkling. She was so motivated now that she immediately called for the rest of the monsters to bring it on. Subaru stood to the side watching, happy to see that Sasaka seemed to be doing just fine. Now, he had to deal with something else. While Amamisa Sasaka was happily farming monsters, she suddenly saw a notification that a boss had appeared. She quickly turned to call for Subaru, only to see him already standing face-to-face with two bosses, level 17 and level 12. Subaru didn't show a hint of fear. He told Sasaka to finish off the rest while he handled this. Both sides clashed fiercely, fighting from the ground all the way up into the air. The level 12 wolf swung its claws at Subaru, but he dodged its attacks repeatedly. The other boss, a level 17 goblin, sat on the wolf's back, seizing the chance to draw its bow and activate a Tier 2 6-arrow skill. A barrage of blue arrows shot toward Subaru, scattering in multiple directions. Subaru quickly activated blood control, wrapping it around his body for defense. A volley of arrows slammed into the sphere he created, causing it to explode. Subaru fell freely to the ground. These two were too strong. If his blood control hadn't reached level 2, he would have been done for. So this is what a boss is? The skills are just overwhelming. Sasaka stood on the sidelines, worried. The fight was too intense for her to jump in and help. Her special moves were completely useless due to the massive level gap, so she had to clear out the small fry first. Over there, Subaru was using his blood control to gather energy. A flurry of blood blades was thrown at the two bosses, but they had no effect. The wolf easily deflected his skills and leaped away, while the goblin kept raining arrows down on him. Subaru had no choice but to keep defending against the arrow storm. He tried attacking while defending, but it didn't do a thing. The giant wolf closed in with incredibly fluid dodges, while that goblin leader kept launching ranged attacks with its archery skills. It was just too skilled. He couldn't find an opening. He couldn't even bind them with his blood wires. Before he could think for long, the goblin triggered another special move. This time, it fired a level 3 ice arrow that pierced through Subaru's shield, punching a hole in his shoulder. Subaru gritted his teeth in pain. It had a second special move that made his blood unable to block the strike. It read the situation too well. This boss was no pushover. The arrow rain from before was just a distraction. He'd walked right into a trap. Subaru clutched his arm, dropping to one knee as the goblin prepared to fire another arrow at him. Just as the arrow was about to release, Amamisa Sasaka lunged out of nowhere and punched the wolf in the face, causing the goblin to lose its balance. Subaru stared with his jaw dropped, watching the wolf get stunned. Wait, doesn't that special move only work on opponents within 3 levels? The wolf collapsed. Subaru looked back. The enemies along the path had all been defeated. Amamisa Sasaka had reached level 9. Sasaka timed the 3-second window perfectly and landed another punch, keeping the wolf stunned. The goblin saw that things weren't looking good, so it detached from the wolf and flew into the air. Sasaka broke into a cold sweat and told him, "That one's yours." Subaru slowly stood up. He turned his blood into rubber to bind the wolf's head, then lunged forward, turning the blood into cables to pull back hard. He successfully took down the wolf, reaching level 6 in both body and hit points. His mana points fully recovered. Subaru started thinking about landing a strong close-range blow. He remembered Sasaka's special move, that massive golden fist. Subaru mimicked the technique. He converted his blood into a giant fist, destroying the goblin's level 3 arrow and taking it down as well. Subaru successfully leveled up to 9. His blood control special move also leveled up to 3, extending the duration to 20 seconds. The Karakan Volcano Dungeon, difficulty level 2 stars, was complete. Ariel. Subaru leaped up to level 9, and all his stats increased significantly. Outside, the group from earlier was waiting. The guy who had his cloak stolen by Subaru was sneezing non-stop. I was shivering from the cold, promising to tear whoever took his cloak to pieces. The blonde guy didn't care about that. All he cared about was the gate-breaking stats. The screen was showing the completion time. The others looked at it and broke into a cold sweat. It usually takes about 2 hours to clear a 2-star gate, but those two only took 15 minutes? It was unbelievable. Just then, Subaru and Sasaka walked out of the gate. As soon as they emerged, they were questioned by the group, who still couldn't believe the two of them could clear the gate in such a short time. Just then, the notification board appeared again, confirming that the Karakan volcano had been cleared. The remaining time would be added to the clock immediately. The time was added to the massive clock in the sky. This was a giant clock visible from every corner of the world. Life would end when the time on it counted down to 0. The only way to stop it was to break gates and add the remaining time to it. Subaru realized this was the reason the God Lord had to keep fighting. The orange-haired guy's jaw dropped in disbelief. The two of them had actually done it. A 2-star gate should be assigned to a level 10 God Lord or higher. Yet, they had destroyed it with just 2 people, a level 1 guy and a level 8 girl. While he was busy thinking, Subaru leaned in close, making him jump. He apologized for tearing the guy's cloak and promised to compensate him. The orange-haired guy was now terrified of Subaru. He quickly waved it off, telling him there was no need for compensation and that he should keep the cloak. The blonde guy appeared out of nowhere, squeezing his teammate, and asked the orange-haired guy, "Weren't you going to tear Subaru to pieces?" The orange-haired guy wouldn't dare do that now. He quickly denied it, saying he was just joking and to pay no mind to it. He then changed the subject and told everyone it was time to leave. The group that had been acting so arrogant just a moment ago now lined up and bowed respectfully to Subaru before leaving. Subaru was still confused, not really understanding why. Their attitude changed faster than an ex-girlfriend's. The door behind the two suddenly shattered, and 2 stars clattered to the ground. Sasaka picked them up and held them high. "Let's go exchange these for money." Subaru hesitated, having something he wanted to suggest. The two of them went into a cafe to sit down. He wanted to collect the money under Sasaka's name. She looked at him, feeling confused. A 7-3 split? If they did that, what would happen to Subaru's money? Unlike Sasaka, Subaru didn't care about the money at all. He stared blankly at his cup of coffee, moved to tears. After breaking the gate, he had finally returned to this cafe. Unlike Sasaka, Subaru didn't care about the money at all. He stared blankly at his coffee, tears of joy welling up in his eyes. After breaking the final gate, he had finally returned to this coffee shop. Thank God. Sasaka saw that Subaru wasn't paying attention to her, so she snapped and asked what he planned to do with the money. Subaru mumbled that he would split it with her. Then Sasaka suddenly asked a question so sharp it made Subaru spit out his coffee. She asked, "Vanquis isn't your real name, is it?" Seeing Subaru's reaction, she knew right away she had guessed correctly. Subaru was using a fake name, and he didn't want anyone knowing he had broken the gate, especially with that kind of power. Even though it was only level 1, it was terrifyingly powerful. Subaru couldn't find an excuse, but Sasaka didn't intend to accuse him. After standing side by side with him, she knew he was a good person. He had saved her life, and beyond that, she still wanted to keep breaking gates with him. From now on, she wanted to be his partner. After talking on and on, Sasaka felt a bit embarrassed. She was willing to help him, even if she wasn't sure she could pull it off. Subaru's eyes widened. Partner. No one had ever said those words to him before. This was the first time someone had said that to him. Subaru suddenly felt so happy, like a warm current flowing through him. He gripped his cup tightly and thanked Sasaka from the bottom of his heart. She had helped him so much. If she really wanted to be his partner, he would be very happy. Subaru decided to tell Sasaka everything about his real name, his past, and all that had happened to him over the last 2 days. After hearing Subaru's story, Sasaka felt a headache coming on. Who would have thought his situation was even messier than she imagined? The Rainbow Gate, the false accusation of assassination. Sasaka couldn't believe Subaru was the brother of Ares Taiga. On top of that, that jerk had stolen his gate and become a Golden Gatekeeper. Unbelievable. What a total scumbag, absolutely unforgivable. The more Sasaka cursed, the more fired up she got. She asked if Subaru wanted to get strong enough to beat that jerk Taiga. Subaru scratched his head. His life was in danger, so he just wanted to get stronger. Sasaka shared her own story, too. Her family had 3 daughters, and all of them were gatekeepers. Her sisters' and brothers' gates were silver tier, only hers was copper. Originally, a team was formed with the 3 of them, but eventually, she was kicked out for being a hindrance. Because of that, her goal was to get stronger and prove herself to them. Sasaka blushed, feeling embarrassed because this was the first time she had opened up to anyone. She saw that her goal was quite similar to Subaru's, so she wanted them both to get stronger together. Sasaka smiled and held out her hand. She wanted to be his partner, promising never to betray or abandon the other. Subaru was stunned. No one had ever said such things to him before. He gripped Sazaka's hand, accepting, and from that moment on, they became partners. At the headquarters of the Gatekeeper Union, on the top floor of the main political conference room, the 5 Golden Gatekeepers sat at a meeting table. Now that they had suppressed Arika Taiga, they were the only Golden Gatekeepers who could act. The remaining ones didn't seem to care much. 6 people was fine. Without that jerk Taiga, everything was still fine. Besides, who didn't hate that guy's rotten attitude anyway? The other gatekeepers seemed to agree, but the problem now was that, excluding the 4-star gates, only Golden Gatekeepers could break 5-star gates. There weren't enough of them to deal with the extremely difficult gates. Hirasaka Renji proposed increasing their numbers until the forced removal of Taiga was cancelled. He also planned to call in the Silver Gatekeeper groups to join the campaign. 5-star Gatekeeper Shikishima Ryu was stunned by the proposal. Silver tier? Are you serious? Gatekeeper Udu Ryu stroked his chin, calculating. 10 people over level 30. Yeah, that might work. There were currently 7 5-star gates that needed to be cleared quickly. For the 4-star gate campaign in Meguro City, they decided to assign it to Julietta's team, which had an average level of 31. This team was led by the young master Hisaki Julieta, level 38. Subaru and Sazaka, after setting a gate and coming back out, brushed past Julietta's team. Not bad for a silver tier team. They were strong and had the numbers, but that team's business had nothing to do with them. Subaru and Sazaka excitedly set off, preparing to break another 2-star gate in Meguro City. The gate was called Soldier's Junkyard. The two entered, and they were greeted by a staircase, a long staircase leading downward. The two walked down slowly. Subaru asked confusedly if Sazaka knew what was inside the gate beforehand. Sazaka explained that you can come and go as you please as long as the gate isn't locked from the inside, so the gatekeepers assigned to survey it would bring back information, like the endless spiral staircase they were currently walking on, Subaru realized. Sazaka looked at the long, narrow staircase. This could be the perfect place for her skills to shine. Sazaka told Subaru to try locking the gate himself, to see. Then the mission would begin, and the enemies would appear. Subaru listened and locked the gate. The system announced that the mission had begun. Sazaka's spirit was lifted, ready to keep fighting. A rumbling sound began to rise from below. Subaru suddenly had a bad feeling. He felt his hair stand on end. He craned his neck to look down the staircase to see what it was. A horde of skeleton soldiers was coming up in a line. Seeing their numbers, even Sazaka felt a chill. Weren't there a few too many? A skeleton took advantage of her being distracted and swung its sword. Luckily, Subaru reacted in time, using blood control to block the sword strike. Sazaka reacted too, punching the skeleton in the face. The skeleton flew back and vanished, but they couldn't let their guard down. Another group was rushing in. These ones had to be at least level 10 or higher. They had to clear them out to get out of there. The two cooperated. Subaru defended, and Sazaka attacked. This narrow terrain was completely to Sazaka's advantage, but there were simply too many of them. And there was also that feeling of fear that he had sensed from the floor below earlier. Compared to that goblin boss from before, this was even more terrifying. The skeletons were being taken down one after another, but Sazaka's stamina had limits. She began to pant. Subaru saw that the situation wasn't good, and told her she should take turns with him to fight the monsters to avoid exhausting herself more than necessary. Sazaka turned back to look at Subaru with a confused expression. It should be the opposite, shouldn't it? If you level up inside a gate, your HP and MP recover completely. The best way is to give it my all until I level up, so my current status is perfectly healthy, 10,000 HP ready to keep fighting. Subaru was also fired up by Sazaka's rallying cry, giving it his all to fight. He used blood control to shift the shape of the blood tide, freezing everything solid. Seeing the skeletons struggling in the pool of blood, Sazaka chuckled. That ultimate move is still as overpowered as ever, huh? Subaru, panting heavily, told her to stay sharp and keep moving. It won't last long, Sazaka said, her eyes gleaming. She lunged forward, jumping onto the skeletons' heads, using her top speed to take down as many as she could, successfully leveling up to 15. She left the rest for Subaru. He caught on quickly, using his ultimate ability to crush the frozen skeletons, sending them to the afterlife, and he successfully hit level 16 himself. Sazaka didn't know what to say. Subaru was as crazy as she'd hoped, even terrifying the enemies. Suddenly, a skeleton that hadn't fully fallen tried to ambush Sasaka from behind, but that skeleton was instantly taken out by one of Subaru's blood arrows. Subaru reminded her not to let her guard down. Sasaka sheepishly apologized. As they went deeper, taking down more monsters, the uneasy feeling in Subaru's gut just wouldn't go away. The pressure from below kept mounting, getting stronger and stronger. By the time they reached the bottom of the stairs, Subaru had hit level 19 and Sasaka level 22. They finally stood before the big boss. The boss was a skeleton wearing a long dress and a crown. Queen Judith, level 29. Suddenly, she opened her eyes and lashed out with a whip. The sheer force of a single strike made the surrounding stone seem like it was about to crumble. Subaru used blood control to shield them both. He assessed the boss, a long-range fighter with unpredictable patterns. As Sasaka had said, they really didn't stand a chance. Subaru gritted his teeth. He couldn't shake the question, was that persistent, chilling feeling from the very beginning actually coming from this boss? The boss whipped around wildly, forcing Subaru and Sasaka to dodge. Sasaka was so scared she was practically wetting herself, turning to Subaru to ask what they should do. Even if they tried to close the gap, they couldn't stay in range for long. Subaru stayed silent, judging the boss's skills. It seemed to use MP to whip them, but he wondered if it would stop whipping once its MP ran out, just like his blood abilities. If so, this skill countered Sasaka's perfectly, as her instant space would be useless against such a massive level gap. It was safer to use blood control for both offense and defense. But if he did that, Sasaka wouldn't get any experience points from the boss. He felt happy remembering Sasaka promising to be his friend and never abandon him. Subaru shouted to her, saying he would block the whip, and Sasaka was to strike it continuously until she was satisfied. Sasaka didn't get what he was planning, but she agreed. Subaru cranked his blood control viscosity to 100%. The monster seemed to realize he was up to something. It swung its whip at the mass of blood he'd created, but the blood split and clung to the monster, binding its movements. Subaru turned to Sasaka and yelled, "Now's the time!" She listened, rushing in and pummeling the monster's face. If Sasaka wanted the experience points, the monster's HP had to drop by at least 20%. A master of defense and recovery like her really had to give it her all. To get stronger, Subaru glanced at the countdown. He reminded Sasaka she had 5 seconds before his blood control wore off. She understood and backed away just as the monster broke free. It started whipping at Sasaka again, but she was shielded by Subaru's blood, escaping unharmed. Just as they prepared to attack again, a voice echoed from the monster. It growled, questioning who gave Subaru that kind of power. He froze, wondering if he'd heard that right. The monster had actually spoken, confirming Subaru's suspicions. It muttered that he shouldn't be able to grant power to a mere mortal. Subaru quickly realized who the monster was talking about. It seemed to be talking about Vanquish. He quickly spoke up, telling the skeleton, "If you want to talk, let's calm down. Why are you so hot-headed?" But the skeleton didn't listen. It went berserk and tore its own dress apart. It began to transform. This was an ultimate move, a boss using all its MP to switch forms. As the transformation began, Subaru encased both of them in his blood control. The monster didn't stop firing off whip strikes during the transformation, making his blood shield boil and evaporate. If he didn't keep replenishing the blood, he'd be defeated soon. Looking at his MP bar slowly draining, he didn't know what to do. At this rate, he'd be completely out of MP, and Sasaka was right behind him. Subaru gritted his teeth, shifting his blood control into a blood spear and charging forward. The skeleton raised its hand to strike him, but it was too slow. Subaru extended the shield into a spear and thrust it through the skeleton. Its head fell off and the creature began to fade away. Even before it died, it couldn't believe it had been defeated. Subaru successfully downed the boss and reached level 20. Even though they'd won, he couldn't feel satisfied. The boss seemed to know about Vanquish, but he'd had no choice but to finish it off. He started to wonder, were the masters of these gates actually monsters from the underworld? Seeing Subaru succeed, Sasaka jumped for joy. In the end, she'd decided to hide behind him and had managed to reach level 21. Subaru smiled, happy to see her level up too. I thought they could finally say they'd achieved their goal of becoming stronger. If he met the boss again, next time he'd try asking questions. Sasaka shouted that even though they'd defeated the boss, They hadn't received a notification that the gate was open. Subaru panicked. Did that mean they couldn't get out? Sasaka was stumped. She'd never encountered this before. Suddenly, a rainbow gate shimmered into existence behind Subaru. He spun around in a panic, and Sasaka's jaw dropped. It was her first time seeing a rainbow gate. Sasaka cheered, telling him it was his second gate. Subaru thought it was strange. Was it normal for this many gates to appear? Sasaka, on the other hand, didn't see it as a bad thing. Each gate had different conditions, and she'd heard you could get new ultimate skills after completing the challenges. Subaru rubbed his chin. Conditions? Was it because he'd reached level 20? Sasaka excitedly added that she'd heard the strongest golden master, Hirasaka Renji, had opened 7 gates so far. Hearing that number, Subaru was stunned. That meant they were doing incredibly well. At this rate, they'd become the strongest duo on Earth. Subaru looked at his hands. He'd come this far using only blood control. If he could gain another skill just as powerful, he could be on par with the golden rank. Sasaka urged him to hurry up and go inside. He snapped out of his daze. Looking at Sasaka's sparkling, expectant eyes, he suddenly felt a wave of warmth. Subaru turned and twisted the doorknob. The moment the door opened, it sliced off Subaru's left arm. At the same time, it dealt a deep, horizontal gash across Sasaka's body. Subaru watched his arm fall to the ground and looked at Sasaka, her eyes losing their focus. She trembled, whispered an apology to him, and collapsed. Subaru ignored his bleeding arm and lunged toward Sasaka, but he only made it a few steps before he fell to his knees. Subaru stared at the figure holding a sword standing in the rainbow gate. The person wore a bloodthirsty grin. Clearly, he didn't care at all about having just slashed someone. Subaru was left stunned, frozen in place. This feeling was exactly the same ominous sensation he'd felt at the very beginning. This overwhelming, terrifying sensation. Panicked, Subaru rushed to Sasaka, using his one remaining arm to hold her close, screaming her name over and over, but Sasaka didn't respond. Blood was pouring from them both. The zombie, standing by that rainbow gate, it dropped an apology like it was nothing. A weak bug that can't even take one hit isn't worth living, it sneered. Subaru's face went dark as he heard the zombie insult his friend. He stood up from the ground, a swirling rainbow aura erupting from him. The zombie started to get interested and laughed loudly. Subaru was incredibly furious. He didn't care that his arm was bleeding out. The zombie was also incredibly intrigued. It introduced itself as one of the subordinates of Vanqui, the zombie emperor, and said it would be the one to test Subaru. Subaru, stepping through the rainbow gate to face the zombie emperor. He was truly Vanquis's subordinate. Subaru narrowed his eyes at the Vanquis standing inside, screaming out, questioning him. "Vanquis, why is your subordinate attacking me? What the hell is going on here?" Subaru was shaking with rage, but Vanqui remained cold and indifferent, offering no reaction. The zombie emperor chuckled mockingly. It told him the Vanqui inside wasn't real. It was just a guide on how to use blood control. "If you have questions about blood control, it won't say a single word," the zombie emperor said, licking its lips. The only thing it cared about now was the fight. The zombie emperor greeted him politely. The condition to pass this trial was to land a hit on him. He wanted to see just how strong Subaru had become. Subaru didn't wait for him to finish. He lunged straight at the zombie emperor. But the zombie raised its sword and easily blocked his strike, clicking its tongue and calling him impatient. "At least lend an ear and listen for a second," the zombie emperor said, swiping its sword through the air. "If you manage to pass this test, you'll receive one of Vanquis's treasures. I'll hand over this Godslayer blade I'm holding." But the zombie's words didn't register with Subaru. He was absolutely boiling with rage. He had no time to listen to this zombie talk so much. All he wanted to do now was rip that zombie to shreds. Subaru activated his blood control. Strands erupted from his back and lunged at the zombie, but it just leaped into the air and dodged them easily. The zombie teased him. "Nice use of blood control, Subaru. But to catch me? You're still way too slow." As soon as it finished speaking, another wave of tendrils shot toward the zombie. It dodged gracefully, bursting into laughter. It realized then, the tendrils. The blood whips from before were... Subaru had mimicked the technique of the previous boss. It had been watching Subaru fight Vanquis for a while, and from what it could see, Subaru could adapt his enemy's fighting style into his own. Seeing he couldn't land a hit, Subaru became even more furious. He screamed at it to stop running away and fight him head-on. I didn't have time to mess around here. Sasaka was waiting for him. The zombie emperor laughed with glee. Not fun? Fine, Subaru, I'll start getting serious. The zombie jumped up and easily severed all of Subaru's blood whips. Subaru was stunned. He couldn't figure out how the zombie was able to wound him like that. Subaru touched the wound on his face. That last move was the power of the God Slayer, the zombie emperor boasted, raising its sword. Vanquish upgraded this blade. It's the ultimate blood sword, capable of piercing through the heavens. With this, your shields are as thin as paper. As the zombie emperor was dancing around and gloating, the ground suddenly shook. It sensed some fun coming and was absolutely thrilled. A new wave of blood whips burst from the ground. The zombie swerved and dodged them, letting out a satisfied, "Interesting!" Subaru whipped his tendrils up from beneath its feet. The zombie chuckled. It was getting a kick out of this, laughing hysterically. "Fantastic! This kid can create so many ways to attack. You might actually turn into an exceptional warrior." The zombie emperor kept bombarding the spikes Subaru had laid out. Subaru gritted his teeth, unable to believe it was dodging everything. In a blink, the zombie emperor was right in front of Subaru. It was surprised, too. Didn't expect this kid to be so good. Before Subaru could react, the zombie slammed a fist into his gut, making him cough up blood. The zombie tossed its sword into the air and gathered strength to punch Subaru again. Another blow almost sent him to the afterlife. The zombie flicked its hand, sending Subaru rolling 8 meters away. Right then, the Godslayer fell back down, and the zombie caught it perfectly. It curled its lip in contempt. "Think you're stronger now so you can look down on me, you frog in a well? My trial isn't a game." The zombie looked at Subaru, lying motionless in the sand. It goaded him. "If you don't get up and attack me again, you'll never take me down." Before it could finish, the zombie braced itself. "Over there!" Subaru had already stood up, ignoring the blood flowing endlessly. He continued to activate his blood control. Subaru didn't let a single word of the zombie emperor reach his ears. Sasaka's life was in grave danger. He couldn't drag this out any longer. Subaru activated his blood control once more, this time molding the blood into armor to cover his body. Subaru followed the advice. Vanquish had told him to ignite his fury. Subaru lunged to attack the zombie emperor, but the zombie dodged it easily once again. Not wasting a second, Subaru shot out blood whips from his back, but the zombie sidestepped them again. Subaru seized the opportunity to lunge. He wouldn't let this beast escape. The zombie emperor laughed, raising its fist to counter Subaru's attack. This time he blocked the fist. The zombie emperor was satisfied. "Tough armor, huh? But let's see if you can take this, kid." Saying that, the zombie swung its sword, preparing to bring it down. Right at that moment, Subaru also raised his fist to attack. The Godslayer sliced through his arm, severing it, but Subaru's arm knit itself back together in a flash, and he punched the zombie across the face. The zombie turned and severed Subaru's other arm, but he reattached it instantly and landed another punch on the zombie. The zombie slashed several more times, leaving Subaru's limbs severed, but he quickly reconnected them and retaliated in the blink of an eye. The zombie understood the situation now. It didn't matter how many times it hacked him. He would just use his blood to heal himself. "At this rate, once your mana runs out, your body will just fall apart and you'll ascend. This is insane." The zombie was absolutely thrilled. "I've really run into a madman." The zombie recalled his conversation with Vanquish, who had praised Subaru as an interesting kid. Even while enduring the pain of absorbing power, the boy had bitten him back. Vanquish had promised the zombie that he would grow fond of him. Back then he hadn't believed it, but now he believed it. The zombie emperor let out a cackle. "I'm starting to like you, kid." But he realized that merely wounding him with that pathetic attack wouldn't be enough. Just as the zombie was laughing his head off, he noticed his opponent's intensity shifting. Subaru growled, his aura surging. "What the hell are you barking about?" Subaru snarled. He grabbed his own arm, contorting his body again as he transformed his left arm into a crimson blood spear. The zombie emperor was the one who had truly underestimated him. The spear pierced right through the zombie, causing him to cough up green blood. Subaru went berserk, screaming, "Go to hell, you piece of trash!" The rotting bastard was cleaved in two, his upper and lower body falling in opposite directions. He shrieked, "Are you serious?" Instead of just inflicting a wound, Subaru wanted to devour him. "You want to skip ahead to leveling up, you son of a bitch?" Subaru was in no mood for his nonsense. He pressed the zombie to hurry up and die. The zombie jumped, feeling the cruelty in the air. Subaru knew full well that if the zombie didn't kick the bucket, the gate wouldn't open. He had to get Sasaka to the hospital as soon as possible. The zombie emperor let out a long sigh. Time outside was frozen while they were within the gate, and the zombie asked Subaru how he planned to survive. He had used his ultimate technique to fuse his wounds shut, but once his MP ran dry, his body would disintegrate and he'd ascend. Subaru didn't care about himself in the slightest. He couldn't think of any other way to defeat the zombie. Even though this was his trial, Sasaka had been dragged into it. So, at the very least, before he checked out, he had to get her to a hospital. Subaru kept urging the zombie to hurry up and die. Even though time outside was frozen, his MP was constantly draining. The zombie felt a chill. Sasaka this, Sasaka that. Kid, you got a crush on her? Dawn. Tears streamed down Subaru's face. It wasn't about love. He had promised her they would never abandon each other. She was the first friend he'd ever had. The zombie held his tongue. He remembered his own past. When he was on the edge of the abyss, Vanqui had reached out to save him, swearing on his vampire honor that he would never betray or abandon him. The zombie emperor dropped his playful facade. Realizing he'd been messing around too much, the zombie pointed to the sword rolling on the ground nearby. To apologize, he would give Subaru this sacred blade and his own skills as a reward for breaking through his level cap. Subaru was confused. If he was going to die anyway, why give them to him? The zombie began to fade away, insisting that Subaru wouldn't die. This is a rainbow gate, he explained. When you level up, all your wounds will be restored. After defeating the zombie emperor, Subaru jumped straight to level 26, obtained the sacred blade, and mastered his ultimate vibration technique. His blood control also reached level 6. Suddenly remembering something, he shouted at the zombie. Are all the gate masters just monsters from the underworld? The zombie confirmed that they were all the same. Vanquis was one of them too. Seeing he didn't have much time left, the zombie pointed a finger, advising Subaru, if one of your friends bites the dust one day, use blood theft to bring them back. Before vanishing, the zombie felt incredibly satisfied. Subaru's spirit just now was exactly like Vanquis's. The system announced that the mission was complete. It required the player to leave the gate. Subaru scrambled to carry Sasaka out, ignoring the mission and the clock. He frantically dialed emergency services. In another gate, the Mobadik team led by Julieta was in total chaos. They were being decimated. Julieta stood frozen, staring at the gargantuan whale. The whale fired columns of water, sending Julieta's subordinates to their deaths one by one. And this thing wasn't even a boss. A subordinate clung to Julieta, begging for orders. What do we do now to beat the boss? They couldn't get out unless most of the god lords were dead. Julieta's face darkened as he asked how many men were left. The subordinate didn't understand what he was asking. Suddenly he turned to look at the subordinate. With a savage expression, he growled, "How many more of you need to die for us to escape?" The subordinate was stunned. He couldn't believe that Julieta intended to abandon his own team to save himself. Julieta had been the one to accept this mission. Before the subordinate could finish, Julieta ran him through with a sword, his demeanor shifting completely. His own life was worth way more than a bunch of pathetic subordinates. Useless, ugly people didn't deserve to live. Suddenly, a red system notification rang out. Most of the god lords were dead, so the gate would open immediately. Julieta laughed loudly, kicking the subordinate's corpse aside. Just then, the rest of his team rushed over. They had received the notification, too. If the gate opened now, the monsters inside would flood out, but Julieta didn't care about that at all. He turned and snapped at them. "Why are you crawling out here?" He ordered them to go back and hold off the monsters. The subordinates were terrified, having no idea how to stop such a beast. But Julieta couldn't care less. I Went Mad turned his back and bolted. His subordinates finally realized how rotten their captain's personality was, but since they were god lords themselves, they couldn't let the monster escape and harm civilians. So, they kept fighting. Outside the giant gate, Julieta was pushing to get out. He had barely stepped 2 feet out when, before he could even celebrate, he received a notification that no one inside remained alive, and the monsters would escape soon. Julieta's eyes widened. Not even a minute? Instantly, a massive force erupted from inside the gate, sending Julieta flying 25 feet away. He slammed into the ground, snot and tears running down his face, cursing his useless damn subordinates. They couldn't even hold the line for a minute. The giant whale slowly squeezed its way out of the gate. Julieta received a notification. The monster would target the god lords who had been inside the gate. Julieta screamed for help, running for his life. On the other side, the rescue team had reached Subaru, and they were performing first aid on Sazaka. Subaru stood by, his heart burning with anxiety. Just as he was praying for her safety, a red notification screen suddenly popped up. Quest failed. The 5-star gate, Moby Dick's lair, had been abandoned. The remaining time was 5,837 hours. Penalties would cause the timer on the giant clock to drop instantly. The time dropped by 240 days, leaving only 49 days. Subaru gritted his teeth, wondering who the hell was responsible for this. Suddenly, a guy came sprinting toward them. Subaru recognized him as a member of Julieta's team. The guy was shouting and demanding that the ambulance be handed over to him. Subaru had no clue what he was babbling about. Julieta grabbed Subaru by the collar and screamed that the whale was chasing him, demanding that Subaru hold the monster off. "Buy me as much time as possible so I can escape." He then ran over to the paramedics, ordering them to drive. The paramedics were confused. They had to prioritize the injured first, but Julieta didn't give a damn. He grabbed the driver and hauled him up. To hell with the injured girl. His own life was what mattered. "She's just some pathetic low-level summoner. I'm a silver ranker. I'm the one who needs prioritizing." Julieta kept pestering him, refusing to let go of the paramedic's shirt. Subaru's face darkened. He grabbed Julieta by the shoulder and told him to wait. Julieta snapped, "Wait for what, you idiot?" The whale had completely broken out of the gate and was flying toward the city center. The Summoners Union started broadcasting alerts. "A monster from the underworld has appeared in Meguro City. Danger level, 5 stars. An emergency evacuation notice has been issued for Meguro, Setagaya, and Shinagawa. All residents in these areas are ordered to evacuate to a safe location immediately." Subaru turned to the paramedics and told them to go, entrusting Sazaka to them. Seeing that the situation was getting tense, the paramedics didn't hesitate. They quickly put the girl in the vehicle and sped off. Seeing his lifeline drive away, Julieta started raging. "What the hell are you doing? I'll kill you!" Before he could finish, Subaru activated his skill and clamped onto Julieta's shoulder. "You want to kill me? Come on then, let's see what you've got." Julieta realized he had just crossed the line. A moment later, Julieta was beaten to a pulp and left hanging upside down from a tree by Subaru. He struggled, but he couldn't break free. Now Julieta looked at Subaru as if he were his own father, spilling everything he knew. The whale was hunting him. Monsters targeted summoners who had been inside the gate. Having witnessed Subaru's power, he was terrified. Subaru had taken him down without breaking a sweat. He had never met this guy before. Subaru breathed a sigh of relief. That's good. As long as Julieta was alive, the monster wouldn't go after anyone else. And he wouldn't let it hunt Sazaka either. He had to defeat it right here, right now. Subaru clenched his fist and focused his mana. He whipped a tendril of blood against Julieta's face and demanded, "What are the whale's skills?" Julieta confessed honestly. The whale could summon others and blast out water jets. "Those attacks are super fast and super strong. We never stood a chance." No sooner had he finished speaking than the whale spewed out a barrage of water bubbles. Julieta was scared out of his wits as columns of water blasted toward him. Subaru didn't even budge. He manipulated his blood, forming an azalea-shaped shield that blocked every incoming blast. The water columns evaporated in an instant. Julieta was floored. He couldn't believe Subaru had blocked that attack. That attack was notorious for easily piercing through any silver ranker's shield. Subaru crouched to brace himself. I was glad this whale was floating in the air. Thanks to that, he could fight with everything he had. Subaru encased himself in blood armor, launched into the sky, and hammered the whale with a blood-infused fist from above. But the blow didn't do much. The whale just bloated even larger. It realized there was a new target, opened its gaping maw, and let out a roar that shook the heavens. It shattered the windows of all the high-rise buildings nearby. Subaru gritted his teeth. So this is a 5-star monster. The gap in levels meant his normal attacks were useless. Subaru decided to try out his new toy. He summoned his divine artifact. At that moment, the whale opened its mouth wide again, and a mass of eyes bulged out from inside. The whale spat out a barrage of missiles toward Subaru. Subaru gripped the divine artifact and burned 1/3 of his MP in a single swing, cutting through all the missiles the whale had fired. Julieta couldn't believe his eyes. The whale's attack had actually been deflected. Subaru finally read the instructions for the divine artifact. It consumed the user's MP to unleash a slash. The more MP you poured in, the more powerful the slash, and the effect scaled accordingly. Subaru wondered if he should use less MP. He still hadn't gauged exactly how much he needed. Regardless, the previous blow wasn't enough to take the whale down. It turned back, angrier than before, and began gathering a massive ball of water in its mouth, preparing to spit it out. Subaru had a rough idea of the power behind that attack. I had to stop it from firing. Subaru raised his sword, deciding to burn another third of his MP for the next strike. The whale was hit dead on and shattered into pieces. The massive ball of water fell like a torrential downpour. Once the spray cleared, a rainbow appeared. The system announced the whale had been defeated. Subaru was soaked to the bone. Julieta, having watched the entire high-definition battle, was stunned. He couldn't believe this guy had taken down the whale in just one hit. Don't tell me he's a gold ranker. Subaru checked his stats. Just as he thought, defeating a boss outside a gate didn't grant him any levels. But at least there wasn't much collateral damage. Subaru clenched his fist. He had to get to Sazaka right now. He used his blood manipulation to create a platform beneath his feet and took off into the air. Little did he know that his entire display of power had been caught on camera by an old man. The man was just as surprised, immediately posting the video to the Bluebird app, promising to break the internet. At the Shinagawa hospital, Sazaka was in critical condition. When Subaru arrived, Sazaka had already been taken to the morgue. He pulled back the sheet and saw her lying still. Subaru fell into despair, collapsing to the floor and blaming himself. It was all his fault. She had been dragged into this because of him. Subaru thought of that rotten corpse and felt a surge of rage. But then he remembered what the corpse had said before kicking the bucket. If your friend ever ascends, just use blood theft. Subaru snapped to attention. He opened his skill menu, scrolled through, and unlocked the resurrection skill. The ability Kinship allows the user to turn a target into a relative, but it only activates within 1 hour of the target's death. Sazaka Amamisa has 17 seconds left. Subaru desperately holds on to her, realizing this means Sazaka could be revived. The countdown drops to 15 seconds. Without thinking, Subaru activates his blood steel skill, praying internally. Please, be in time! A wave of red energy envelops Sazaka. The timer continues to tick down, second by second, until the very last one. The red aura around Sazaka fades. Subaru turns pale, and at that exact moment, 2 people burst in, calling out for Sazaka. They are her older sisters. Tears streaming down their faces, they shove Subaru aside to reach their sister. The eldest sister bitterly cries out that this was exactly why she told Sazaka to quit being a godmaster, while the second sister can't stop sobbing. She can't believe her sister is gone. Subaru is left stunned, unable to say a word. The eldest sister finally notices him and asks who he is. Subaru hesitates, his heart aching at the thought of Sazaka. With tears in his own eyes, he says he is Sazaka's friend. Hearing this, the eldest sister flies into a rage and attacks Subaru. He doesn't resist as she sobs and accuses him of being the one who dragged Sazaka into this. She claims they didn't want to leave Sazaka behind. They were just waiting until they were strong enough to come back and protect her. They were almost there. She never imagined someone like Subaru would appear and take her sister's life. As she prepares to deliver another blow, a sudden movement behind them grabs their attention. Sazaka, a cold corpse just seconds ago, suddenly floats into mid-air. A red mark appears on the back of her neck, and her appearance begins to shift. She lands on the ground to the shock of everyone present. Sazaka glares at her furious sisters and shouts for them to take their filthy hands off Subaru. With that, she lunges at her eldest sister. The sister stands frozen, confused, but Subaru is quick. He blocks Sazaka's attack just in time to save the sister from certain death. Subaru blocks the strike, his hands trembling. Why is she so strong? Sazaka immediately lets go and kneels before Subaru to apologize. Her sisters watch this scene, feeling deeply uneasy. Subaru is also terrified. What the hell is going on? He asks Sazaka if it really is her. Sazaka confirms she has been revived as a relative thanks to Subaru's technique. She has no memory of her past life, but she will obey Subaru unconditionally. Subaru stands there, paralyzed with fear. Sazaka's sisters, hearing this, look livid and refuse to back down. activating their own ultimate skills. They call Subaru a sick bastard and demand to know what he did to their sister. Subaru is breaking into a cold sweat, lost on what to do, when Sasaka adds another question to the mix. She asks him if he really is a sick bastard. Subaru shakes his head frantically. Of course not. Sasaka, now Subaru's loyal subordinate, draws her sword, ready to attack her own sisters on his behalf. Subaru rushes to stop her, yelling in panic. With no other choice, he uses his own skill to pin the two sisters against the wall, then grabs Sasaka. He runs for his life. As he runs, he curses, "You piece of rot, what kind of skill is this? This isn't even Sasaka anymore." Sasaka, being dragged along, looks confused. "Are you not going to finish those two off, Subaru?" Subaru ignores her question. He doesn't know what to do. He needs to figure out this kinship nightmare caused by his bloodsteel. As they reach the big city, Subaru freezes when he sees himself plastered on the giant screens. He goes pale. He never expected his fight with that whale to be recorded. While he's stunned, someone approaches him, saying it looks like he's about to become a celebrity. The two people walking up are Shikishima Ryu and Udo Ryusai, the second and third ranked members of the Golden Godmasters. Shikishima grinds his teeth in frustration. "I knew that scooter guy had a brother." Subaru is even more terrified when he sees them. It seems there's more than just those two. The most important person always appears last, and that person is Hirasaka. Renji Hirasaka, the leader of the Golden Godmasters, politely informs Subaru that he is under suspicion for property damage in the Shinagawa district and for the assassination of a fellow Godmaster classmate. They invite him to come with them for further questioning. Subaru, of course, knows who this man is. How is his childhood idol? He is the strongest Godmaster in Japan. Subaru never in his life thought he would meet him like this. Subaru stands tense, guard up, protecting Sasaka behind him. Hirasaka smiles and explains that the issues regarding the two of them have already been resolved. Subaru and Sasaka are invited into the car with the three of them. He recounts everything that has happened to him over the last 2 days. He spills everything he knows, but he's still bothered by why he is no longer a suspect. Shikishima tosses a tablet to Subaru. He asks if he knows how many surveillance cameras there are in Tokyo. First, the vandalism around the shopping area was recorded from start to finish. Subaru was clearly a victim targeted by the scooter guy. Next, regarding the attempted assassination of Kunizaki, the gate that turned him into a godmaster appeared and sliced Kunizaki in two, and 2 other witnesses at the scene testified on his behalf. Subaru is shocked that the 2 people who bullied him actually stood up for him. Naturally, Subaru is no longer a suspect. Moreover, news of Subaru taking down a 5-star monster without any casualties has spread everywhere, so now he's a hero. The word hero feels incredibly foreign to Subaru. He never once thought he would become a hero. After hearing Subaru's story, Shikishima realizes many things, and the mysteries surrounding the scooter guy are cleared up. Ariatai only has one technique, the golden arm. A godmaster who steals a gate from another doesn't need to level up. A second gate will never appear. That's how they knew about Subaru. This is likely why the scooter guy kept Subaru close, so when another gate appeared, it could steal it again. Subaru finally understands everything. No wonder the scooter guy wouldn't let him go. He wanted to do just that. The Golden Godmasters bring Subaru down to the basement level 6 of their headquarters. Only now did Subaru understand everything. No wonder the throttle wouldn't let him go. It wanted to do this. The Golden Pantheon group took Subaru down to the basement below the 6th floor of their headquarters. That right there is the solitary confinement cell for those who oppose the Lord Ariel. When Tiger saw who was coming, his eyes turned bloodshot with rage, and he called out to Subaru with a tone full of affection. Chained up with golden shackles, there was absolutely nothing he could do. Shikishima kicked the iron cell door hard. He hadn't liked this jerk from the very beginning. Now, after hearing Subaru's story, he planned to keep investigating based on the testimony. Tiger was acting like a madman, slamming into the iron door and endlessly cursing Subaru's parents. He swore to heavens and earth that he would tear a bottom-feeding bug like Subaru to pieces. He insisted that all of Subaru's doors were rightfully his. Subaru was being berated by Tiger like a torrential downpour, but he didn't show any reaction at all. Even though Sasaka, standing right beside him, was boiling with rage, Subaru remained as calm as still water. He felt like something was off. Even though he was standing right in front of the aggressive and hateful Tiger, his heart didn't waver in the slightest. Seeing Subaru unfazed made Tiger even angrier. A lowly bug like Subaru dared to look at him like that? He just couldn't accept it. Subaru didn't want to hear Tiger's nonsense anymore. He turned to leave, leaving Tiger behind, still barking incessantly. Udu watched Subaru walk away. She asked if it was really okay to just let him go like that. Hirasaka looked thoughtfully at his tablet. He had been planning to grant Subaru a few privileges anyway. They needed him to get stronger because news had arrived that a 6-star gate had appeared. Subaru brought his 2 stars to the reception counter to exchange them. The guide confirmed that Subaru would receive 300,000 yen for the 2 stars. On top of that, he was gifted 20 million yen for defeating the 5-star monster. Subaru got goosebumps. The receptionist handed him a black card. Subaru was granted extra privileges from the Federation whenever he presented this card. Places like hotels and convenience stores belonging to the Federation could now be used for free. Subaru didn't understand what the hell was going on, but the crowd behind them had already started gossiping. They admired Subaru. He had defeated the blue whale single-handedly and even received special privileges immediately. Subaru could hardly believe he had become famous. It was the guide who had told everyone about him. Now that Subaru had grown stronger, wealth and fame, everything was in his hands. The guide asked what Subaru planned to do from now on. Down in the 6th basement, Tiger was still acting like a total lunatic, not able to stay still for even a second, endlessly cursing everyone's parents. The elevator door opened again, and someone else walked out. She waved her hand, releasing golden chains that immobilized Tiger, slamming him to the ground. The person who had arrived was the 4th Golden Lord. Kinokawa Sakura was the receptionist from earlier. Her real name and face were secrets. She only worked as a receptionist because of her own personal desires. Tiger growled bitterly. "Kinokawa!" She squeezed her hand, tightening the chain so that Tiger couldn't utter another word. Tiger finally realized a bitter truth. Subaru was now overwhelmingly powerful. He had passed 2 gates, and that indifferent attitude of his. He didn't even look at Tiger. To Tiger, that was an act of pure contempt. He couldn't handle it. Tiger gritted his teeth so hard they clicked. He started cursing the world, believing that the world had stopped choosing him, and he just wished everyone would go to hell. Tiger's resentment toward the world summoned a dark gate. When Kinokawa saw the dark gate being summoned, she was stunned and snapped at him, asking what the hell he had done. Only then did Tiger notice the gate behind him. The gate was emitting a series of resentful, cursing sounds. It struck Tiger where it hurt most, poking at his trauma. The world didn't want him. An arm reached out from the gate, grabbing Tiger and pulling him inside, promising to wipe out everyone. A series of arms reached out from the gate, grabbing Tiger and trying to drag him in. Okawa, of course, wouldn't let that happen. She activated her golden chains to hold Tiger, but her chains were shattered by the dark energy from the gate in an instant. It attacked Kinokawa, slowly eroding her limbs. Seeing Kinokawa get taken down so easily, Tiger was stunned. What kind of monstrous power is this? The gate knew exactly how to press Tiger's buttons. It promised him this power. Tiger slowly sank into the gate. Subaru and Sasaka were chilling on the rooftop of a building. Sasaka saw her master deep in thought and asked if he was worried about something. Subaru rested his hands on his forehead, thinking back to Kinokawa's question. Wealth, power, and fame, everything was in his hands. From now on, what do you want to do? Subaru sat up abruptly. He glanced at Sasaka beside him and asked what he should call her from now on. Calling her Sasaka felt a bit weird. Sasaka told him to just call her Sia. Subaru asked her if there was any way for her to turn back into the Sasaka from before. Looking at Subaru, who was full of heavy thoughts, Sia blinked and understood. The body she was using belonged to someone important to him. Sia asked if she could look at his bloodthirsty skill stats because their souls were connected, so she could see his parameters. Looking at the stats, she pointed to level 35, which was still locked. Based on her speculation, there was a high possibility that the 3rd gate would appear when he obtained a new skill. If there was a way to truly bring Sasaka back, it would be best to ask those on the other side of the gate. Subaru felt enlightened. The best thing to do was to meet Vanquis, the one who had granted him the skill, to ask. Subaru regained his spirit and stood up. Right now, he had to focus on leveling up. He was currently at level 26. I needed to go farm more monsters. Subaru used his special technique to conjure a new cloak. Now he had to find a new gate. He had to meet Vanqui as soon as possible. The two arrived in front of a gate on a street. The shop owner saw him and thanked him. He complained that the gate had suddenly appeared in front of his store, causing his business to stagnate more and more. He couldn't believe the legendary savior Subaru was actually here. Subaru shyly scratched his head. He opened the door and turned to ask Sia if she was coming in. Sia explained that she was his dependent, so as long as she lived, she would serve him. Sia showed her stat board to Subaru. Subaru let out an "Oh!" He didn't expect that Sia could also use blood control. He wondered why her MP was 0. Sia explained that dependents lived off the Master's MP and could also use the Master's MP to unleash special moves. Subaru realized it. He suddenly understood that Sia was now twice as strong as Tiger and 20 times stronger than Sasaka. The pair entered the portal, a 3-star gate named Underworld. As soon as they stepped inside, Subaru asked to borrow C's MP. She was curious to see his strength, so she told him to do as he pleased. C activated blood control and summoned a massive blood ring in midair. She seemed like a different person. The girl who was so obedient just seconds ago instantly turned into a ruthless beast, wiping out the entire swarm of demons. Not bad at all, Subaru commended. C retracted the blood ring, noting, "This technique is useless against high-level opponents, so it's just okay." Continued, "It's only mediocre." With the small fry demons cleared, the boss appeared. Subaru rushed forward, summoned the Phantom Thief, and swiftly dealt with the boss. The pair finished the quest and stepped out of the portal. It took them a mere 10 minutes. The old man who saw them enter moments ago was stunned. That fast? After clearing that 3-star gate, Subaru leveled up to 28. Just as he thought, 3-star gates weren't that tough. He prepared himself to take on a 4-star gate next. While he was spacing out, someone called his name. Subaru turned to see Shikishima, one of the Golden God Masters, lounging there waiting for him. Resting his chin on his hand, Shikishima praised him. Clearing a 3-star gate in 10 minutes? Not bad. Subaru asked him why he was there. Shikishima landed in front of him and scolded, "Kid, you never check the notifications, do you?" He delivered grim news. Taya had escaped. It happened late last night, so it hadn't hit the news yet, but one of the Golden God Masters had been crushed to pieces. Subaru was horrified. "No way! Who got hurt?" Shikishima explained it was the 4th, anonymous Golden God Master, the one who used the golden chains to suppress Taya. Shikishima, acting kind, offered more intel. "The 4th one's real name is Kinokawa Sakura. She's someone you've already met." It finally clicked for Subaru. The girl with the pink hair who always sat at the reception desk was the 4th Golden God Master. She was currently unconscious. The security cameras and data in the detention center had all been destroyed. With no evidence left, and considering the danger, the Golden God Masters were ordered to team up in pairs or more to clear gates. Subaru pointed at himself. "Wait, does that mean I'm a Golden God Master now too?" Shikishima crossed his legs. "Subaru, your Rainbow Gate is likely even stronger than the Golden Gate." He told Subaru to pick any gate he wanted to clear and team up with him for a while. Subaru obediently agreed. Shikishima, in a rare display of mercy, volunteered to partner with him, warning him not to disappoint him, because the first thing that Taya guy is aiming for is you. Just mentioning him made Shikishima's blood boil, and he crushed the water bottle in his hand. The two arrived before a 4-star gate named Saw Pit. Shikishima Ryu was the 2nd strongest Golden God Master, right after Hirasaka Renji. Even though enemies get 10 times stronger with each star level, for him, it was a piece of cake. Subaru felt awkward and gave an awkward smile. He wasn't sure if Shikishima even needed his help. Theoretically, Shikishima possessed a skill that could fire invisible bullets from the tip of his finger. Yet they didn't really look invisible from here. Terrifying attacks from his 50th technique, Sulfur, turned the sky blue. After clearing that gate, the two moved to another. Shikishima wiped out monsters in a single strike. According to Subaru's knowledge, none of the monsters in this gate were weak. Monster-defeated notifications rang out repeatedly. Shikishima found it annoying. We Golden God Masters have a rule. In the real world outside the gates, we are strictly forbidden from using any techniques other than the first one because the others have such high destructive power. After finishing off the small mobs, Shikishima led the way, sauntering out to finish the boss. All Golden God Masters in Japan, once identified as Masters of the Golden Gate, are granted the title of Seven Knights. The person who bestowed power upon Shikishima was a cavalryman. Shikishima told Subaru to get ready to choose the next gate. He planned to clear 3 more before the day was over. With a sigh, Shikishima had already wiped out the main boss of a 4-star gate. The 3 hopped back into the car to head to the next location. Shikishima grumbled, 52 minutes? That's decent. Subaru thought he had gotten stronger, but the real Golden God Masters were on a different level. Shikishima dealt with a 4-star boss in an instant. That's what they call a skill gap. Shikishima told him, you handle the next one yourself. The 2 arrived at another 4-star gate, Crystal Waterfall. This gate had unique terrain. Shikishima walked ahead, annoyed, telling Subaru to be careful. Low-level God Masters can't even move in this stage. This special terrain only contained the boss. No sooner had he finished speaking than a cat made of crystal jumped out. Subaru braced himself, taking a defensive stance. The cat ambushed him from above, lunging straight for his head, but he quickly summoned the phantom thief. He sliced off one of the cat's legs. Shikishima exclaimed, "That's the sword from the video! To use that to cut a 4-star boss! You're pretty impressive, kid." Subaru had taken one hit and was already struggling, blood covering his face. He turned pale. This boss was stronger than the zombie, maybe even dozens of times stronger. Without the phantom thief blade, he'd be in serious trouble. Subaru raised his sword, ready to strike again, when he realized the leg he'd just severed was slowly healing, growing back a brand new limb. Subaru was petrified. What the hell? It's regenerating? The cat swung its leg again to strike Subaru, but this time he jumped and dodged. Subaru quickly assessed the situation. The phantom thief blade was useless now. It consumed too much MP and wasn't effective against this boss. C saw that things were looking bad and prepared to help, but Shikishima stopped her. He sat there, chin on his hand, watching the drama unfold. C glared at, "You're not planning on abandoning Subaru, are you?" Shikishima clicked his tongue. "I'm not a 4-legged animal. I'll step in when the kid is about to lose." Shikishima felt fortunate that Subaru had run into a sub-boss, even if the Rainbow Gate was stronger than the Golden Gate. If a Godmaster uses it like an idiot, relying only on stats, it's completely meaningless. He needed to see Subaru's true potential. Subaru was in a tight spot. This terrain countered his blood control. Using wires was impossible. There was nowhere to anchor them. Using bones would just get them blown away by the constant fierce wind from the waterfall. Traps were useless too. This enemy was too big, and stopping it would cost way too much MP. Subaru jumped up and tried to use blood control to blind the cat, but the cat still landed a perfect hit on him. This cat's targeting was way too accurate. It wasn't using its eyes to observe. The cat swatted Subaru away, sending him rolling onto the ground. Shikishima started to get annoyed. What the hell is this? Things aren't looking good. This kid is too green. Getting into a mess like this on his first time fighting such an odd boss. I must have expected too much of him. C, however, remained loyal and kept her faith in her master. She told Shikishima, "Don't underestimate him. Subaru has already figured out a way to counterattack. The tide of battle is shifting on the other side. Subaru connects his wires to the cat-like creature since his other moves aren't working. Since it's a physical entity, he's targeting the cat directly. It lacks joints and senses, acting more like a slime in a cat's shape. Normal sword strikes and slashes won't work. It won't be affected by that. So Subaru uses the zombie skill he learned the other day, a deadly punch capable of destroying the target from within. He combines his knowledge with practical application. He combines blood control with the deadly punch to destroy the cat from the inside, then uses a blood whip to wrap around its neck, pulling it in with a spring-like force to shatter its face. If it tries to regenerate, he's done that himself before. Subaru goes into a serious, incredibly cool mode. "You're using MP to regenerate, aren't you? Sorry, but I'm not letting you get away with that. I won't stop crushing you." Shikishima is surprised. The kid figured out the enemy's traits in such a short time, and on top of that, he combined his first and second techniques. He heard Subaru could control blood, but this kid has a way more unique attack style. Shikishima mutters, "This guy is absolutely insane." The CEO is extremely proud as Subaru and the Glass Cat trade blows for hundreds of rounds. Both are exhausted, and Shikishima calls up to them from below. He promised that if Subaru defeated the cat, he'd treat him to sushi. Seiya scoffs, thinking his master wouldn't be so easily swayed by food. But as it turns out, he is exactly that easily swayed. Hearing he'd get fed, Subaru's fighting spirit skyrockets, and he springs toward the cat, making it shriek. Subaru successfully clears the 4-star gate. Leveling up to 31, his skills adjust accordingly. Shikishima takes him out for sushi as promised, nagging him about how long he plans to stare at the food. "Eat up already!" Subaru's eyes light up, staring at the sushi on the table, unable to bring himself to eat it. He wants to admire it longer. Subaru is moved to tears as this is his first time ever seeing sushi. Hai is genuinely so happy. Seiya, who was still wrestling with the cat, laments, "Master Subaru must have had a rough time, huh?" Shikishima feels a headache coming on looking at the scene. A is busy doing her own thing and snaps, "This is a high-class bar, you know." Who would have thought the two of them, Subaru and the others, would end up capturing a crystal spirit after defeating it? After beating a sub-boss, you get rewards like Hirasaka's earrings or the jacket from that jerk Siha. Subaru's red sword is kind of like that too. Subaru, currently obsessed with food, suddenly remembers and looks over at the cat, which is stretching and yawning. He wonders what this thing is even for, so Shikishima suggests he give it a name. It's rare to get an underworld monster as a pet, so Subaru hesitates for a second before excitedly naming the cat Sushi. The cat just looks confused at the random name. The crystal spirit suddenly transforms into a crystal sushi. Shikishima urges him to eat quickly, saying sushi is best when it's freshly made, not just stared at. Just as Subaru is about to pop the first piece of sushi into his mouth, the world starts shaking violently. Shikishima shouts in frustration, "What kind of disaster is this now?" Sure enough, something is wrong. A monster has escaped from a gate. Subaru jumps up, ready to fight, while Shikishima fixes his outfit. "This is exactly why I told you to eat faster." This time, it's a hawk-like monster that captured a little girl and flew into the sky. Just as it's showing off, Shikishima and Seiya shoot its wings off with a golden gun and a blood ring. Subaru leaps out from somewhere, landing on the bird's head and using blood control to kick straight through its skull. With the monster defeated, it drops the little girl it was holding hostage, and she starts free-falling. Subaru uses blood control to catch her. The girl's eyes sparkle as she looks at her savior, and Subaru lands on the ground, gently asking if she's hurt. The girl says she's fine and thanks him repeatedly. Just then, an acquaintance of Subaru's runs over. It's him, Sawatari, the guy who used to lead the bullying against him. Subaru is stunned to see him, but even more surprised that the girl he just saved is Sawatari's little sister. She notices they seem to know each other. She asks her brother, "You know Subaru?" Shikishima recognizes Sawatari too and calls out, "Hey, it's that kid from the interrogation the other day." Knowing Sawatari was one of the guys who bullied Subaru, he prods him, "Why don't you thank Subaru?" Sawatari is triggered and almost says something about not thanking a filthy bug, but catches himself. He stops calling Subaru a bug. The sister, on the other hand, happily thanks him, making Sawatari flare up again, asking his sister why she has to thank this guy. His sister snaps back. "Just thank him for saving your sister. Is that something to be embarrassed about?" Sawatari is left speechless, so he turns his attitude back toward Subaru and threatens him. He claims that if Subaru tries to take revenge, he'll post the video of him wetting himself online, but Subaru doesn't react at all. He just gives a gentle smile that makes Sawatari's words. Sawatari swallows his threats back. He grabs Subaru by the collar, blaming him, but instead of fighting back, Subaru thanks Sawatari for proving he wasn't the culprit, then walks past him. Ai excitedly urges Shikishima to go back to eating sushi, and the three of them casually walk away. Sawatari's sister notices her brother acting strange and pulls his sleeve, asking what's wrong. Sawatari hangs his head in shame, thinking to himself that he is truly pathetic. The three of them return to the sushi restaurant. They find the place has put up a closed sign due to the monster appearance. Subaru's spirit deflates, but Shikishima quickly promises to bring him back another time. The next day, Sawatari sits blankly in class, looking at the videos of him bullying Subaru. Without hesitation, he hits delete on all of them. His blue-haired friend notices and asks out of curiosity, "Did you delete those videos of you bullying Subaru from the other day?" Ai thinks to himself that yeah, if Subaru came back for revenge now, it would be terrifying. Sawatari mutters, "It's not that." But the blue-haired guy asks why, and he just stares out the window. Suddenly, he sees something shocking and drags his friend over to look. At that same moment, Subaru gets a call from Shikishima and hears terrible news. That jerk Seiha has appeared at his school, and they need to get there immediately. Sawatari, who was happily checking a text from his sister about cooking pork cutlets, is dragged by his friend. He looks out the window and sees an acquaintance, Aerial Tiger. Instantly, a series of dark gates appear around them. Tiger announces to all the masters in the school that those dark gates will grant them new power, strong enough to rival the Golden Masters. He lures everyone to enter the gates. "You'll gain new power and join my squad!" On Subaru's side, Shikishima angrily holds up a picture of the jerk Seiha, noting he just got the alert from the school 3 minutes ago. It's not even about the kid. It's that this total jerk dared to rip off Subaru's hairstyle. Shikishima is so annoyed he honestly couldn't care less what that black door behind Taiga is. But man, I've got a really bad feeling about this. They need to get there as fast as possible. Back at school, Sawatari and his buddy are standing there, hesitating, staring at that dark door. They heard the announcement, but they're not fully buying it yet. If they walk through that door, are they joining Taiga's army? Sawatari just stays quiet. Suddenly, Taiga pops up behind him out of nowhere, asking what he's still waiting for. The others are also caught off guard by Taiga's sudden appearance. They scream in shock. Taiga goes right back to his usual manipulative act. "Being weak is your own fault. Don't you guys ever wonder why there's such a gap between the chosen ones even though you all passed the same trials? Same, you say? Have you ever stopped to think why? Why it's never been you, whenever you see those golden chosen ones getting all the love and adoration." Taiga pushes them to step through the door and show those golden chosen ones what a real festival is all about. Sawatari freezes. He's thrown back to his childhood when he and his little sister were abandoned by their parents in a room full of trash. They only had each other. He didn't want his sister to cry, so he did whatever it took. Scavenging, taking beatings, fighting. In the dump, just to bring home food for her. In the freezing winter, Sawatari walked alone through the snow and his gaze landed on a house. A family of 3 was celebrating their kid's birthday. The mother saw Sawatari, and the look of pure disgust and contempt on her face was clear as day. She slammed the curtains shut so he couldn't look inside. Sawatari was gasping for air, totally hopeless. He collapsed, exhausted. If he died, what would happen to Kana? Why them? Just as he fell, that bronze door appeared right in front of him. Sawatari, confused, asks why Taiga would even do this. "You're a golden chosen one too, aren't you?" Taiga casually admits he stole that door. Subaru was the one who was truly chosen. The gates are supposed to pick those with a pure heart. There's no way his heart is better than Subaru's. And on top of that, that bastard even got a rainbow gate. Don't joke around. That Subaru loser should be under my boot his whole life. That's why I'm going to flip this world upside down with the dark door that chose me. Taiga asks again. Doesn't Sawatari want revenge on Subaru too? He pressures him, saying if they team up, they'll crush Subaru into the dirt. Sawatari thinks to himself, if he refuses, Taiga is definitely going to take him out right here. Sawatari thinks of his sister's text. He tells himself he can't die yet. He turns to his friend and says, "Let's go." Suddenly, his pocket vibrates. Sawatari pulls out his phone to check the message. It's a reply from his sister to the text he sent earlier. Sawatari reads it and goes completely still. His sister thinks he's a good person. Sawatari remembers the moment he got the bronze gate. He had thought, finally, I can feed my sister something decent. Sawatari starts strutting around the school. He has to show everyone that he shouldn't be underestimated. But after getting the news about Taiga coming to school, he realized he couldn't play the big boss of this school anymore. At the same time, he heard that Taiga's brother is in the same grade as them, but he's just a normal, everyday guy. Sawatari started down the path of bullying Subaru. He painfully denies it. He's not a good guy. Because he was the weak one, he did terrible things to those even weaker than him. Sawatari finds himself truly pathetic. Even though Kana is such a sweet girl, she's got a crappy brother like him. Sawatari turns to his friend and tells him to make cutlets for his sister tonight on his behalf. The guy with blue hair doesn't understand what his friend is planning, but he agrees. His eyes widen as he watches Sawatari. Sawatari uses his ultimate technique, aiming straight for Taiga. He turns to the blue-haired guy and tells him to pass on an apology to Subaru. Taiga looks like he's watching something incredibly hilarious. Sawatari screams at the blue-haired guy to just go. The blue-haired guy quickly uses his wire to zip out of the classroom, repeating the warning. Sawatari, don't die. Taiga, bored, rests his chin on his hand. He wants to hear why Sawatari isn't following him. Yesterday, Subaru saved Sawatari's sister, but instead of cursing him, he thanked him. Sawatari hates how pathetic he is, but at the same time he thinks, no matter how many terrible things happen in this world from now on, he feels that as long as Subaru is around, everything will be okay. Taiga scratches his head and jumps down from the windowsill. He doesn't get it at all. It's so humiliating. Why would Sawatari want to be friends with the guy he used to bully? Sawatari doesn't care how pathetic he looks. But he's certain that Subaru has a heart big enough not to care about any of that. Sawatari smiles, satisfied. Taiga sneers, how pathetic. And sure enough, after hearing those words, Taiga lunges and grabs Sawatari by the head. In his final moments, Sawatari thinks of his sister. He's proud that he made her smile. That's the only good thing he ever did. Subaru bursts through the window into the classroom, attacking Taiga. He goes numb, seeing Sawatari lying in a pool of blood. Subaru snaps and lands a punch on Taiga, sending him flying through the wall and outside. Taiga raises his golden arm to block the hit and smirks. Our rematch came a lot sooner than I thought, huh, Subaru? Subaru grabs Taiga, and they fall freely. He grinds his teeth and demands to know why Taiga sent Sawatari to his grave. He thinks of little Kana. She might not like Sawatari, but no matter what kind of person he was, there was still someone waiting for him. Taiga is pumped, screaming with sick excitement, unleashing all his power. Watch this! I'll wipe you out myself! Taiga raises his golden arm to block Subaru's attack. Subaru's armor shatters under Taiga's strike. Taiga's golden arm doesn't fare much better, and cracks start to form. Taiga slowly steps forward. He's planning to use another move. Even though it's a bit early, he wants to finish Subaru off as fast as he can. Just as he's about to make his move, a bullet from Shikishima whizzes past his face, forcing him to stop. Shikishima and two other members of the Golden Chosen have arrived. Shikishima is boiling with rage. He challenges Taiga, "If you're so tough, come on, do it." Taiga smirks. He remembers the bitter past. This is the second time he's been ganged up on by these Golden Chosen brats. He bursts into a mocking laugh, staring at the infuriatingly righteous faces of the group. Taiga cackled. Surely the fact that he took down the number 4 Golden Sovereign woman had shattered the fragile hearts of the remaining sovereigns. Shikishima seemed even more unhinged than before. The other two weren't faring much better. Hirasaka blurred past like a flash of lightning, slicing off Taiga's golden arm. Before Taiga could even drop his smirk, he let out a scream of agony. Blood splattered everywhere, but Taiga didn't care. He turned to mock Hirasaka. "First time I've ever seen that confused look on your face, Hirasaka." Hirasaka's expression darkened, thinking of Kinokawa. It seemed he was now so furious that even he was surprised. Hirasaka's aura was explosive. Subaru couldn't even track any of his movements. How was like a passing streak of light. This was the true power of the top Golden Sovereign in Japan. Hirasaka, concerned, turned to ask Subaru if he was hurt. Subaru told him he was fine, baby. Taiga, seeing Hirasaka ignoring him, felt his pride stung. He focused his dark energy, manifesting a giant arm from his severed limb to attack Hirasaka. Hirasaka's sword shattered. At the same time, the third Golden Sovereign, Udu, activated his second ultimate technique, a wall of golden light to isolate Taiga inside. Golden Sovereigns are strictly forbidden from using any ultimate techniques other than the first one while outside the gate. Udu knew that. I was ready to accept the punishment. Shikishima raised his gun, yelling at Subaru to get away from Taiga. He and Shay simultaneously activated their golden techniques, attacking Taiga with guns and blood rings. But the bullets evaporated and the blood rings were crushed in an instant. The golden wall Udu had just created also shattered, and Taiga swaggered out. Surprised yet? Even a 5-star monster couldn't break Udu's golden wall. So that was what defeated the 4th Golden Sovereign, Kinokawa. Hirasaka landed beside Udu, evaluating the blood and smoke from Taiga. It wasn't just simple offense or defense. Its ability definitely had a special effect, but if they couldn't figure out its nature, they were finished, Udu. Dark-faced, he asked Hirasaka for permission to use his other techniques. The situation would only get worse if things continued like this. Hirasaka raised a hand to stop him. If he allowed it, countless civilians would be involved, and that was exactly what Taiga wanted. Shikishima felt his head throbbing too. If there was no other way, he would have to break the rules. But first, he couldn't do anything until he figured out the special effect of that skill. His bullets evaporated as if incinerated, and Shay and Udu's techniques were crushed. According to the quacks, Kinokawa's limbs had also shattered in an instant. Shikishima suddenly realized something. His pupils dilated. Taya, on the other side, was becoming even more frantic, spewing out clouds of black smoke. He would carve his name into human history as the one who spread the most fear. His wish was to hang the corpses of all the golden sovereigns for the world to see and butcher every single one of them. Subaru suddenly lunged forward to everyone's astonishment. I had realized Taya's ultimate technique. It could manipulate time, causing it to accelerate with anything it touched. Shikishima loudly warned him not to enter the smoke, but Subaru kept pushing forward. Taya was incredibly satisfied, preparing for battle. He was certain that the moment Subaru rushed in, he would die in a split second. A bug should only be treated like a bug. The two sides clashed. A massive explosion rang out. Shikishima was tense and worried for Subaru, but Subaru was completely fine. He threw a punch that smashed Taya's face. To use blood control, the user must convert mana into blood to manipulate it. Currently, Subaru was constantly cycling blood throughout his body, so Taya's technique was useless against him. Taya stood frozen, clutching his bleeding nose. He couldn't believe he'd been punched that hard. Subaru was now on a new level. The times he had feared Taya were over, and he would grant Taya's wish, showing him his full power. Subaru's entire body was encased in a new, extremely cool armor. Blood Control version 2, indestructible. The fight between the two was becoming intense. Taya was punched until he vomited blood from his nose. He couldn't accept that a pathetic bug like Subaru had the right to stand on equal ground with him. Taya went berserk, summoning a series of other dark gates surrounding the Golden Sovereign Assembly. The gates emitted a black smoke that could crush anything it touched. This was the first time they had ever seen a skill capable of summoning such gates. Taya cackled like a maniac. If he couldn't beat Subaru, he would turn to another plan. Even if only Subaru could block the smoke, it was useless. Hai would turn the others into dust first. Subaru looked at Shay, remembering the scene of Sasaka dying right before his eyes. He closed his eyes, then opened them, radiating a powerful rainbow aura. Subaru looked at Taya as if looking at a corpse. If you've got the guts, touch one finger on my friends in front of me, you piece of filth. Deep within Subaru's heart, a flame of anger flared up. He used his limit break technique, aura skill, human, one of the 3 strongest techniques Vanqui had given him. Every ability was boosted by 30% when the user was in a state of rage. In their first battle, this move hadn't worked due to the difference in rank. But now that Subaru was stronger, this move was finally effective. The two sides clashed, fighting fiercely. Taya was somewhat outmatched. He was hit repeatedly by Subaru and had to raise his arms to defend. Taya panted heavily. His arm had been snapped and he screamed in pain. He couldn't understand how he couldn't block Subaru's strikes. Subaru used a blood whip to tightly bind Taya's arm. Taya struggled, continuously emitting black gas. Taya, even if he were to reincarnate another lifetime, he wouldn't believe that this pathetic bug, Subaru, had surpassed him. Taya was pinned to the ground by Subaru's foot, then took a devastating uppercut that sent him flying straight into the sky. After gaining the version 2 blood armor, Subaru was completely outclassing him. He used his skill rank to enhance his nervous system. In that way, Subaru would naturally move, better than when he controlled it with his fingers. Taya was pummeled by Subaru, falling to the ground like a sack of trash. A voice suddenly emerged from the dark gates, lamenting. The master of the gate using blood control isn't Karen or Judith. Out of so many people, why is it that brought Vanquis? Taya of the present, if there was a chance to win. Shikishima realized the situation was going south. He yelled at Subaru to stop attacking and capture Taya. They still needed to extract much more information from him. Subaru snapped back to reality, confused about what to do with the black smoke over there. Shikishima told Shay to use blood control just like Subaru's to dissipate the smoke. They succeeded. Escaping the encirclement of the dark gates, Shikishima analyzed everything in a flash. To make the black smoke disappear, it required contact, like a chemical reaction. Once the reaction between bone molecules and the smoke occurred, both would evaporate. The dark gate on the other side cackled. An eye peered out from the gate. The goal. The goal of the dark gate was to destroy that giant clock hanging in the sky. Shikishima sits the guy down and keeps pressing him on how to break the seal. The gate just giggles, refusing to talk. It mutters that if that throttle kid were a little smarter, things would be much easier. The Gate of Darkness arrives with a prophecy. Hirasaka Renji, Shikishima Ryu, and Udu Ryusei, all three will be taken down by Throttle Kid in the near future. Not sure about the future, but right now the kid is out cold. Shikishima, ever arrogant, brushes it off, saying he couldn't care less about what some cloud-gazing gate thinks, claiming that prophecy is complete garbage. He says he won't let it come to pass. The Gate of Darkness giggles again, leaning closer to Subaru to get a better look. It knows he's the avatar of Vanquish, a real piece of work. Subaru demands to know who the gate is, and it replies that it is Kokogashi, the Emperor of Darkness, existing within the amniotic fluid, with the ambition to reshape the world. Because of that, it has decided to destroy the current world and everyone in it. Subaru can't take it anymore. Kokogashi's voice is as annoying as constant barking, so he raises his hand to attack. As soon as he lunges, the gate suddenly vanishes. All the black smoke surges toward Throttle Kid and envelops him. Subaru realizes he's been played. He was tricked. The other gold gatekeepers quickly launch attacks toward the kid, but they're too late. Both Kokogashi and the kid have escaped. Era sneers, mocking them. Can't believe 3 gold gatekeepers let them slip away. Shikishima loses his cool, snapping back. I couldn't move because I was restricted, that's all. He's been keeping an eye on 2 enemies who appeared on the rooftop during the fight between Subaru and Taiga. Those 2 were among those coming in and out of the Gate of Darkness. He senses a power level from them that even surpasses Taiga's. After Kokogashi drags the kid away, it keeps brainwashing the boy. Kokogashi whispers into the kid's ear. You pathetic, weak, dim-witted, ugly thing, you're useless. Kokogashi knows exactly what's inside the kid's heart, wishing he were stronger, wishing he were smarter, and better looking. Kokogashi plays a game of push and pull. 1 second it crushes the kid's ego, the next it coddles him, promising to give him power and remake his form into whatever he dreams of. Kokogashi keeps the kid in its grasp, then floats off to meet its new minions. They are all here for one reason, to get stronger. Kokogashi cackles as a series of arms stretch out. It promises to help them all shed their skins and reach a new level of power. Sawatari has passed away. His funeral is held in silence, and Sawatari's younger sister looks like a hollow shell. She just stands there blankly, clutching her brother's portrait. Atasushima delivers Sawatari's final apologies to Subaru, but after just a few words, he can't hold back his tears. Mourning for Sawatari's sister, Kana. His tears flow uncontrollably. Since the kid appeared, no new gates of darkness have sprouted up. However, there are only 5 gatekeepers left in school now, and several people in the city have gone missing, suspected of having joined the enemy. Subaru's plan. For now, it's still to get stronger and ask about Sasaka's situation. During the next patrol, he's planning to go break a gate again. Shikishima takes a sip of water. He jokingly brings up the other day when Subaru loudly proclaimed he would get stronger and protect them all. Subaru blushes, embarrassed, while Shikishima looks at him with affection. He tells Subaru they'll enter a gate tomorrow with Hirasaka. The next day, in Asakusa, Taito City, Tokyo, Hirasaka is there, looking fresh and sparkling, waiting for Subaru. Because Shikishima and Subaru have different fighting styles, he doesn't have much to teach him. From what he's seen, Subaru's close combat is decent, but his swordsmanship is still a mess. So he asked Hirasaka to train him. Subaru is over the moon. He can't believe he's finally breaking a gate with Japan's strongest gatekeeper. He's sure he'll learn a lot. Subaru tries to act cool and awkwardly compliments Hirasaka's hairstyle, but Hirasaka gives a brutally honest reply. He just woke up like that. Subaru feels completely humiliated. They walk for a while until they reach a gate. They run into another team, a platinum team from the Yamada Club. Cheerfully, they say they already booked this gate. Hirasaka checks his notepad and smiles brightly. You guys got the wrong gate. The gate you booked is in Narima City. Subaru goes completely stiff. It takes an hour to get there by train. 90 minutes later, the 2 of them are in Narima City, ready to conquer a 4-star mysterious forest gate. Hirasaka smiles and shares some wisdom, reminding Subaru not to let his guard down. The star rating is just an estimate of the difficulty. This advice would be really useful if Hirasaka hadn't just fallen into a swamp while saying it. Subaru panics, not knowing what to do. Should he save him, or will he get out on his own? Hirasaka sinks completely into the mud, and after waiting a moment, there's still no movement. Earlier, Shikishima had warned him repeatedly. I told Subaru 100 million times to keep a close eye on Hirasaka. He looks smart, and like the type of hard-working person who can do anything, but apart from raw power, he can't do a damn thing. Subaru thinks life is truly ironic. How is his childhood idol like this? Subaru is about to use blood control to pull Hirasaka out when a mechanical ant suddenly appears. Hirasaka pops up from the mud, using his signature giant blade technique. One strike to take down the mechanical ant. He sighs in relief. Phew, that was a close one. Thought I was a goner for sure. Hirasaka Renji is Japan's strongest gatekeeper, famous for his good looks and kind demeanor. Anyone who has known him for a long time would definitely agree with Subaru, feeling glad Hirasaka became a gatekeeper. From childhood, Hirasaka didn't have any special abilities. At first, his parents expected him to be a smart kid. But even when he didn't meet their expectations, instead of being disappointed, they continued to pour endless love and care into him. One day in 4th grade, Hirasaka protected a classmate from being bullied. That friend cried and thanked him. Hirasaka felt happy, but the very next day when he became the target of that group of bullies, he was even more shocked to find that the friend he had protected was one of them. People often betray, and they betray because they are weak. From that day on, Hirasaka decided he would never betray anyone, so he believes he can truly become a genuine friend. After walking a bit, Hirasaka slips into the mud again. Subaru has to use blood control to pull him up. Hirasaka laughs. Ha ha, the enemy's intuition is just too good. So I thought it was better to use myself as bait to take it down. Subaru pulls Hirasaka out, but there's a giant monster attached to him. Subaru is gradually beginning to understand Hirasaka. He always makes sure he's the first one fighting the enemy to protect his teammates. He seems full of weaknesses, but that's not the case at all. It's not that he's distracted. It's that he's flexible and open-minded. Subaru takes care of him, handing him a towel to wipe himself off. This towel was in the bag that Shikishima handed him, a pack, stuffed with a water bottle, towels, and various survival essentials, along with a tattered mat he shared with Hirasaka to help them survive. Among all of Hirasaka's friends, Shikishima is the one who suffers the most because of him. He's probably drowning in work right now, and that's exactly what's happening. Shikishima is currently working himself to the bone to handle everything, snapping, "That idiot Hirasaka is absolutely useless. Kinokawa, hurry up and get better so you can come back and take some of this workload off my back. Get these tasks off my plate." The Golden God Holders are an incredibly tight-knit group, especially Hirasaka, Shikishima, Udu, and Kinokawa. They've been members since the very day the Golden God Holder Guild was founded. They've been side by side for 8 long years, which is why there's one thing Hirasaka is harboring deep resentment about. He will never forgive Taiga for leaving Kinokawa severely injured. Hai tells Subaru up front that even if he and Taiga are brothers, he is still going to choose to defeat Taiga. Subaru turns serious, thinking about Sawatari and Little Kana. Hai has his own reasons for taking Taiga down, and no matter what happens, he's ready. The two move deeper inside and stop at a cliff edge. Hirasaka uses his sub-skill, Hawk Eyes. He spots the boss about 20 kilometers away at the 6 o'clock position. The map's boss is a level 81 gun tree spirit, a colossal tree with eyes growing all over its trunk that sprouts defensive thorns the moment it senses someone approaching. Hirasaka summons a massive sword to block the gun tree spirit's attack. His blade shatters, and the shockwave from the blow tears up the entire landscape. Luckily, Subaru quickly used blood control to lift Hirasaka into the sky, dodging the strike. Hirasaka, still obsessed with explaining things, adds, "Like I said earlier, the difficulty ratings on those portals are just estimates." Subaru's face darkens. What the hell? The attack speed of this tree is on par with, or maybe even stronger than, Shikishima. This thing is in a completely different league compared to those 4-star bosses. Hirasaka raises his golden sword. The mobs in this portal are equivalent to 4-star level, but it looks like only this boss is a low-level 5-star. Hirasaka remains unfazed, sighing. I guess this is the struggle of constantly fighting nameless enemies, huh? Hirasaka even has the headspace to comment on Subaru's flight skills. I never expected you could fly that high. Subaru is nerve-wracked. If Hirasaka hadn't used that sword to block the hit, he would have been on the brink of death. He's almost out of MP and can barely fly anymore. Hirasaka swings his sword, and in a heartbeat, the gun tree spirit is sliced in two. It's his sixth ultimate skill, sword path curvature. He can bend the trajectory of his blade to strike anywhere within his range. It's highly likely he'll lose the sword after using this technique, and it demands a massive amount of MP, but if used correctly, victory is all but guaranteed. Subaru is completely shell-shocked. The boss was taken down before he could even do anything. Continued, taken down before he could even do anything. The two head out of the portal as dusk falls, saying their goodbyes and preparing to head home. Hirasaka tells Subaru, "Don't tell Shikishima about today." But it's already too late. Subaru has already sent the full report to him. Shikishima, looking like a debt collector, drags Hirasaka away by the collar. Even in his final moments, Hirasaka stays cheerful, promising to meet Subaru tomorrow and suggesting they tackle a 5-star portal. Subaru returns home. After a nice shower, he climbs into bed, lost in thought. He reflects on the gun tree boss. He needs to analyze Hirasaka's fighting style and adapt it in his own way. Meanwhile, Goku Goji is busy recruiting, having gathered 20 people ranging from weak to strong. They are constantly splitting up to scout for more personnel at the park and to recruit for their team. They try to recruit Rex and Julieta in the residential area, but they refuse, determined to fight to the end. The Goku Goji group doesn't give up, though, and they continue their hunt. Shikishima is annoyed, taking a call from his idiot son, Hizaki. That guy was supposed to be detained until his punishment was decided, and the suspicion regarding him murdering his comrades hasn't been cleared yet. Hizaki just laughs it off, trying to stay calm. Hai claims he was the one being attacked, and he had no other choice. According to his God-holder ID card, the person who attacked him was named Kishikawa Souchi, a bronze God-holder clearly connected to the Shadow faction. He could feel something supernatural in that guy's insect control skill. Shikishima looks at the data on his computer screen. The skill is completely different from the one originally registered. Just as he suspected, the Shadow Gate can grant new skills to its users. Many people were attacked last night, but his idiot son, Hizaki, was the only one who fought back. Shikishima realizes this won't end anytime soon and reminds Hizaki to be careful. His idiot son just mutters, yeah, sure, and hangs up. As soon as the call cuts, he immediately starts complaining about that annoying guy with the glasses. Elsewhere, the Shadow faction members communicate, updating each other on the situation. The blonde guy reports that everything is going smoothly on his end. They beat the Rex team, and even Julieta was defeated. The other side replies that they've finished wiping out the Platinum team. The two sides discuss their next move. They plan to kill the Golden God holders at Marunouchi, Choda City, Tokyo, in front of the new Marunouchi building, Hirasaka, and Subaru meet the reconnaissance team before entering the 5-star portal. The Recon Department is an intelligence unit established by Shikishima, consisting of people with movement and analytical skills. Their job is to bring back information about portals and increase the survival rate of the God holders tasked with those portals. The head of the Recon Department is Kosaka Masago. She's a married woman, which is why she stepped back from the front lines to join the Recon Department, leaving her husband and child back in the city. Meguro, where Subaru defeated the whale. She feels incredibly grateful to him. Kosaka shows everyone the data on her iPad. This portal is called the Thunderstorm Gate. It's a very small area consisting of only 2 locations, a garden and a palace. There are 2 thrones on the top floor of the palace, and there's a boss inside. It's possible that one, or perhaps both, are bosses. Subaru feels a bit anxious. He'd teamed up for a 2-star portal before, and faced 2 bosses, but he couldn't believe he'd be facing that again in a 5-star portal. Hirasaka waves to grab his attention, flashing a brilliant, radiant smile. He asks if he's okay, then leads the way inside. Subaru feels a bit calmer. Even though it's different from what he imagined, Hirasaka is still incredible. The moment the 2 of them step inside, the gate slams shut. The Shadow faction members swarm them, immediately slashing and injuring one of Kosaka's subordinates. The Shadow group that arrived is a band of bronze god holders, sycophants of the Shadow Gate. They were incredibly arrogant. Kosaka realized the intruders were on the list Shikishima had given her. She couldn't just let them do whatever they wanted. So, Kosaka fought back, but she was outmatched and quickly taken down by the member of the Dark faction. He pulled out his phone to report that Hirasaka and Subaru had entered the 5-star gate. Proceed to open the Gate of Darkness in 10 minutes. The recipient was Taga. His appearance had reached a new level, his signature bowl cut now replaced by long, flowing hair. He looked much more handsome and human-like. Inside the storm gate, the scenery was surprisingly poetic and peaceful, with palaces, lakes, and greenery. It would be a dream to come here for a vacation. Instead of being stuck at home grinding out deadlines for the boss, that would be heaven. Hirasaka stayed alert and signaled for the others to lock the door behind them. Once sealed, the gate-breaking process began. Immediately, the wind picked up and dark clouds swirled in. Lightning flashed, and the palace in front of them lit up. This gate's mood swing was faster than an ex-lover's. The enemies would reveal themselves as soon as the gate was locked. Both of them could sense the presence of the bosses on the minimap, but what they felt was something far beyond their expectations. They quickly realized the two bosses they were about to face were top-tier 5-star threats. Storm Delta at level 89 and Thunder Killim at level 93. The two bosses also noticed Subaru and Hirasaka. They sensed familiar faces. One was the Golden Knight of legend, and the other, a stinking one they never wanted to see again, that hateful zombie. Killim and Delta shared a wicked smirk, plotting together. This zombie is still so weak. Let's see how long he can hold out. A moment later, a horde of knights appeared before Hirasaka and Subaru. Even though these were just foot soldiers, every single one of them was stronger than the whale. With an average level of 60, Subaru shouted, ordering his CEO not to be stingy with his mana points, as he could handle them himself. At all costs, he had to protect Sasaka's body. The CEO began using blood control, shifting into his exterminator form, eyeing the soldiers rushing toward them. Subaru immediately went into serious mode. If he didn't go all out from the start, there was no way to win. He instantly shifted his blood control form into the Undying Blood Armor. Hirasaka flicked 2 fingers, and a massive blade pierced through the middle of the horde, yet more than half were still alive. Their agility was higher than he had anticipated. A soldier tried to attack Hirasaka, but was intercepted by Subaru. He stomped on the soldier's head, but this guy wasn't a pushover either. It grabbed Subaru's leg and slammed him down. Then it threw a punch that sent Subaru coughing up blood. Are you kidding me? A mere foot soldier hits as hard as Sushi and Karen? The soldier attacked even more ferociously. Subaru tightened his abs and glutes, pushing back with his leg. He hadn't come here to be a burden to Hirasaka. He came to stand by his side. Subaru used blood control to bind the soldier and crushed it. The system notified him. Successfully defeated Storm Knight, level 54. He had only taken down one, and Subaru was already winded. I was panting heavily without gaining a single level. To make matters worse, he'd wasted too much energy just defeating one of them, and 4 others were already surrounding him. Subaru summoned his God Slayer blade. He couldn't use normal slashes because they consumed too much mana. I had no choice but to go for direct strikes. The soldiers raised their hands, using the diamond sword technique. Unbelievable, these guys had truly gained sentience. They could even use advanced techniques on their weapons. That was the level of 5-star difficulty. Despite being exhausted, Subaru's eyes remained determined, and he locked gazes with Hirasaka. He signaled for him not to worry. This was nothing. Subaru had thought about it all night, realizing that no matter how much he admired Hirasaka, he could never be exactly like him. When Shikishima asked Hirasaka to train him, he wasn't talking about Hirasaka's techniques, but his fighting spirit. It wasn't just about leveling up, but how to always be ready for the fight. How to keep calm and maintain the feeling that you would never lose. Subaru closed his eyes. He wanted to become stronger no matter how difficult or humiliating the path might be. I had been waiting for this fight. Subaru radiated a rainbow aura, even more intense than before, and charged into the fray. Engaging in fierce combat was the only way to become stronger. Subaru used the God Slayer to block a soldier's sword while another took the opportunity to slash him from behind. Subaru gritted his teeth through the pain, refusing to stop, continuing his charge. I used blood control to bind one soldier's arm and slashed it into pieces. Subaru leveled up from 31 to 32, his health and mana recovering. He dove back into the battle using the God Slayer to strike down 2 more soldiers at once, successfully hitting level 33. Subaru fought with burning spirit while Hirasaka stood on the sidelines, not intervening. He recalled the instructions Shikishima gave him before entering the 5-star gate. Until the very last moment, do not help Subaru and don't try to teach him anything. Let him struggle on his own. In the near future, Subaru will stand by our side. All he needs is the experience. So, a brutal fight that could push him to his breaking point was necessary. Shikishima also knew that someone like Hirasaka couldn't really teach others anything anyway. He just told Hirasaka to show off his cool side for his junior. Hirasaka smiled faintly and swung his sword, effortlessly cutting down 2 soldiers rushing at him. He wondered if Subaru would become the ray of hope that could illuminate their dark, desperate future. 8 years had passed since the first gate appeared. Despair began to take root in the hearts of the strongest god lords. The strongest gate at that time was only 3 stars. But 3 years later, a 4-star gate appeared, and 3 years after that, a 5-star gate emerged. Each added star increased the difficulty tenfold. Hirasaka had once talked to Shikishima about this very issue. If the difficulty updates every 3 years, it means next year a 6-star gate will appear, and 4 years after that, a 7-star gate. Looking back at the past 2 years, we Golden God Lords cannot get 10 times stronger. When the 6-star gate appears, all the Golden God Lords will only be able to join forces to destroy it together. If things keep going like this, there's no way the God Lords can keep up with the increasing number and difficulty of the gates. This is a truly unsolvable problem. Who could possibly handle? The portal is 10 times more powerful than a 5-star one. If the time limit for a 6-star portal is 10 times stronger than a 5-star one, that means if they fail and can't break the portal, the clock will shatter instantly. They can't just ignore low-level portals either, but there's always a shortage of god hosts. Are humans really just doomed to lose? No matter how hard Hirasaka tries to find a way, one problem after another keeps popping up. He's terrified of the day he might lose the true friends he finally found. In that moment of desperation, he suddenly gets a call from Kin Okawa. While she was interrogating suspects in the god host murder case with Udu, she got word that a rainbow portal had appeared. Hirasaka stands silently, watching Subaru fight the soldiers seriously. He realizes Subaru can only use swordsmanship to clash directly with the enemy. Bit by bit, Subaru takes them down. He slowly realizes he just needs to focus on the tip of his blade the moment his god thief strike hits the enemy. This way, he can defeat high defense enemies while reducing his MP consumption. Hirasaka watches with approval. Subaru isn't just learning from what he's taught. He's learning from his own combat experience. After clearing out the soldiers around him, Subaru checks on C. She's using her Annihilation Force skill on the soldiers, a high-level technique that gives simple command-level instructions to cells. From the massive amount of blood scattered around, the command she issued was, "Explode on contact." However, at C's current level, no matter what she does, the attacks aren't effective. But that's more than enough. Even if it's just a little bit, C will reduce the number of enemies around Subaru and Hirasaka. The top priority is protecting C's body as she flies around trying to dodge. But she runs into another soldier. It raises its sword to strike, but Subaru arrives just in time. He uses God Thief to slash it down in one hit. Subaru is so moved he wants to cry. He thanks C for staying safe. C blushes, her heart thumping like crazy. The two of them split up to finish off the remaining soldiers. Subaru runs toward Hirasaka, telling him he feels it's pretty hard to level up here. Hirasaka only just notices. He thought it was because his current level was too high, but if Subaru feels it too, this might mean this is a special stage. These soldiers are nothing more than puppets created by the boss's ultimate technique. That's definitely why they're getting so little experience. Which means from the very beginning, this stage only has those 2 bosses sitting on the throne. Subaru is stunned. No way. He can still level up, so he's fine. But Hirasaka will just get more exhausted the more he fights. Hirasaka raises his sword to slash another soldier, saying it's not entirely meaningless. Eliminating these soldiers will drain the boss's MP. However, the enemy definitely won't just stand by and let that happen. What they're planning is still a mystery. Keelam and Delta have also realized Hirasaka and Subaru have figured out their trick. They laugh with glee and finally get off their butts to join the fight. Seeing them move, Hirasaka wonders in a moment of hesitation. Should he use Sword Path Distortion right now? Sword Path Distortion drains 80% of the user's max MP. It can reach the enemy instantly and slice them up. But will it be enough to take down these two? Hirasaka makes up his mind, whether it works or not. This is his only chance. He decides to use his sixth ultimate technique, but just as he's about to unleash it, the rain suddenly stops and the skies clear. The two bosses are standing behind Hirasaka before he even knows it. They warn him not to try any cheap tricks. That's boring. They just want to fight. The two bosses introduce themselves. The blonde one is Delta of the Storm, and the green-haired one is Killam of the Thunder. They want a fair fight. These two bosses can talk. They're unlike the bosses at the Death Soldier portal Subaru went through. Most bosses are mindless like wild animals, killing anything that enters their territory. But these two can clearly control the weather and react immediately to tactical changes. This is intense. Hirasaka tries talking to the bosses. They actually politely give him a moment to listen. Hirasaka clenches his fist. He has billions of questions for them. What exactly are these gates and doors? Why do their monsters come to this world? Delta and Killam ask Hirasaka back, "Didn't the brat Lewis tell you?" Hirasaka is startled. Lewis is the master of the Golden Gate and owns these two bosses, and they know about Lewis? Don't tell me they're entities closest to the central manifestation? These two bosses are easier to talk to than expected. I guess they've been locked up here for way too long. They offer to tell him everything they know. Subaru's jaw drops. Is it really this easy to get the secrets of the universe? Holy crap. Hirasaka quickly pulls out his phone to record. He doesn't trust his own memory. Killam happily agrees, coughs, and says, "Basically, the portal is..." What is it? Just as it gets to the important part, the audio cuts out. That's a security issue. It can't be revealed. Hirasaka still doesn't give up. He pulls out paper and a pen, thrusting them at the bosses, begging them to write it down. If he comes back empty-handed, Shikishima will skin him alive. This time, Killam refuses. Enough is enough. It tells the two of them that if they can defeat them, they'll be one step closer to the answers they're looking for. Killam and Delta get into fighting stances. They've been itching for a brawl. Thinking the bosses would use some crazy move, they end up playing rock, paper, scissors instead. After a few rounds, Delta wins. It earns the right to pick its opponent and doesn't hesitate to choose Hirasaka. As soon as that's said, Delta lunges at Hirasaka. Both sides trade blows. Boom, flash, hit after hit. Delta is overjoyed. It's finally found a worthy opponent. Hirasaka also went into serious mode. This Delta is stronger than any opponent he has ever faced on the other side. Subaru was still struggling to stand from the pressure of the blow Delta and Hirasaka had just unleashed, when Killam, looking as gloomy as a funeral procession, suddenly appeared beside him. Subaru jumped back in shock. Killam was depressed, but it didn't say why it had to fight the host of this damned zombie. Subaru politely apologized. Killam chuckled and said it wasn't his fault. For some reason, Subaru felt very comfortable talking to Killam normally, without any discomfort. It made him feel no pressure at all from it, even though they were enemies. Killam said it would try to have some fun with him to see how many times it had to smash Subaru before he kicked the bucket. Killam raised its leg and kicked Subaru, sending him flying from the palace entrance all the way to the gate. Subaru thought about how when someone steps on a bug in their path, they don't even use force because they are so weak. Killam was bored. It had only kicked him once. Subaru couldn't even dodge it. It didn't know exactly whose host he was, but he was just too weak. Subaru was scorched, lying in a blackened heap on the ground. Over on the other side, Hirasaka was panicked and worried for Subaru. Han lost focus for a split second and got hit by Delta, losing an eye. Meanwhile, Killam picked up Subaru's divine sword to examine it. The blade hadn't even been scratched by its lightning strike. This must be why it felt an imbalance in Subaru's power during the first half of the match. Killam felt the weight of this sword. A suspicion arose in its heart. Could Subaru be the host of the immortal god Vanquis? Sia stood behind Killam with teary eyes. Killam waved its hand, kindly giving some advice. Sia, don't do anything foolish. Interfering in a one-on-one match like this is a death sentence. Sia gritted her teeth, constantly calling Subaru's name, begging him to wake up. Killam stood with its arms crossed. It felt very sorry, but since his legs had exploded, was he planning to stand up on nothing but faith and hope? And that was exactly what happened. The black pile of coal that was Subaru slowly stood up. He used blood control to reconnect his body. Subaru told Zia to stay back and not interfere. Earlier, Subaru had used the defensive technique he once used to avoid the black smoke created by Taga, covering his whole body in a large amount of semi-solid blood. Even though he lost both his arms and legs, he somehow survived. Both his blood and MP were down to just a little bit. Keelam is definitely the strongest opponent he has ever met. He couldn't even guess how big the difference in their physical stats was, but if he could survive this, he could certainly get stronger quickly. Keelam clicked its tongue. It realized Subaru had used blood to patch up his limbs, but it didn't like that. How truly disgusting. A cockroach that just won't die. On the other side, Delta was throwing a flurry of punches, laughing like a maniac. It really felt refreshed. Even though Hirasaka had lost an eye, his right eye could still keep up with it. In fact, the remaining eye was even sharper than before. Hirasaka swung his sword to slash at one of Delta's arms, but it didn't just stand there. It laughed gleefully and kicked Hirasaka, sending him reeling backward. Hirasaka gripped his sword tightly. He needed to thank Delta. It's not like everyone is strong from the beginning. Back when he was a total rookie, he had been in mortal danger many times like this. This time was no different. If he could defeat Delta, he would become even stronger. Hirasaka activated his fifth ultimate technique, Royal Aura, boosting all his abilities and the effects of his techniques to 130%, while also consuming more of the user's MP. Delta also started to get serious. It rushed in to attack again. Hirasaka swung his sword to parry. On the other side, Subaru was being chased relentlessly by Keelam. Keelam kept using lightning to hunt him down, flashing at a speed of 100 kilometers per second, 1/3 the speed of light. Dodging it wasn't easy at all. Subaru needed to predict the lightning's movement beforehand while constantly moving. He couldn't stop because once he got hit, he would be turned into dust. Keelam stood calmly with its arms crossed, controlling the lightning to chase Subaru. The situation was getting worse and worse. If this kept up, the soldiers would all be finished. With Subaru's current HP and MP, one hit from the lightning meant instant death. Even though it seemed almost impossible, Subaru still had to try to defeat the soldiers to level up. He glided past a soldier, cutting off its head. He successfully leveled up to 34. His stats increased, his HP and MP were restored, and the missing parts of his body were fully regenerated. Keelam noticed that, but it couldn't care less. Keelam just needed to lift its hand slightly to block Subaru's attack, and then it struck back at him. Subaru joined the disabled club once again. Keelam boredly picked at its ear. I know it's impossible, so why do you keep being so stubborn and fighting? Subaru once again used blood control, firing spikes toward Keelam. But Keelam didn't even bother to dodge, let alone move its feet or hands. Now it finally understood why. Subaru was chosen as the host of that hateful immortal. How was pathetic. He was desperately clinging to life, and for that reason, Subaru always did meaningless things. Keelam lifted its leg and kicked, smashing the incoming spikes to pieces. Subaru braced his arms to withstand the pressure from Keelam's kick. If this kept up before he could reach that goal, he would be crushed by Keelam's strength. Keelam kindly advised him, Subaru's toys are nothing against my overwhelming power, and if you have any intention of hitting me, with your current strength, it's just not enough. While Keelam wasn't paying attention, Subaru's cat, Sushi, had hidden the divine sword somewhere. Keelam used lightning to strike Sushi dead. Subaru was about to rush to save it, but suddenly a system notification appeared. Sushi the crystal beast is using MP to revive. Subaru suddenly remembered. Sushi had the ability to self-regenerate. It understood his strategy and was trying to help him. Sushi threw the divine sword toward Subaru. He successfully caught it, but before he could even be happy for 3 seconds, Keelam was right on top of him. But this time, Subaru wasn't as passive as before. Behind him, Sushi transformed into its giant form, swinging its claws toward Keelam. Keelam turned around and kicked, shattering Sushi into pieces. While Keelam was distracted dealing with Sushi, Subaru had finished preparing. He dove toward the ground, swinging the divine sword to kill the soldiers. He was going to bet all his MP right now. The soldiers had all been wiped out. Subaru successfully reached level 35. His legs grew back. Keelam dove from above, attacking from behind, thrusting its hand through his chest. That's not funny, Keelam raged. It was extremely angry at Subaru's actions. He threw away the chance Sushi had sacrificed itself for just to run away and heal. Why must he cling to life so desperately? Isn't that why you came here, to defeat me? Being such a coward, you won't even be able to beat me in your next life. Subaru's vision blurred, and he had no strength left to fight back. Memories washed over him, all the people who had humiliated him, calling him a worm, a good-for-nothing, a loser. But then, there were people like Sasaka Kinokawa, who wanted to help him grow stronger and truly cared about his goals. Subaru desperately wanted to see Sasaka again, even if just for a moment. That brief time they spent adventuring together meant so much to him. Tears welled up in Subaru's eyes. Even if it was the last time, and even if Sasaka didn't want to forgive him, he didn't care. He just wanted to see her one more time to thank her and apologize for dragging her into his mess. If she was willing to forgive him, he wanted them to grow stronger together once again. Killam, acting like a total psycho, had no clue what the kid was rambling about. Subaru had reached level 35 and cleared the third gate, which suddenly slashed off one of Killam's hands. From the gate stepped out Vanqua, looking cooler and more handsome than ever. He spoke in a tone that was just begging to be punched. "Hey there, kiddo. I've been watching you from the other side. Messing with my host is a serious offense, you know." Subaru lay on the ground, drifting in and out of consciousness as he watched Vanquis appear. Vanquis used his blood control skill, forming a stream of blood to lift Subaru up and hoist him onto his shoulder before stepping into the gate. Before leaving, he didn't forget to offer a cheeky, "See you later," to Killam, adding that Subaru would return stronger than before. How could Killam just let that slide? It would never forget the day Vanqui killed it and Delta. Now that its sworn enemy was standing right there, how could it just stand by and watch? Livid, Killam lunged into the gate, chasing after Vanquis and Subaru, only to end up in a smoky, dusty wasteland on the other side. Vanquis was healing Subaru's broken body. He wondered why the kid always seemed to be on death's door every time he showed up. Subaru's consciousness was still fading in and out. He couldn't believe Vanquis was actually there. After finishing the healing, Killam, who was crackling with electricity, arrived in a blind rage. Vanqui brushed him off. "Killam, don't stick your nose into other people's family business. Get lost and go home." Killam screamed in frustration, shouting that Vanqui was the one interfering in a one-on-one duel with Subaru. He vowed to finish the kid off and then deal with Vanqui afterward. Vanquis let out a sigh. "Don't go imposing your warrior's code on a king. Breaking into the human world and forcing a duel? That's pathetic. Have you no shame?" Vanquis pondered. So, Killam wanted to take down both him and Subaru? Suddenly, he had a brilliant idea. Vanquis touched Subaru and merged into his body. "I was going to borrow the kid's body for a few minutes to show him how real blood control was done." Vanquis began to fuse with Subaru. "Not bad, this kid's body is actually decent. Level 35 is plenty to work with. To beat someone like Killam, who's been drained from being sealed in that gate, this is more than enough." Killam's blood boiled. He couldn't stand being humiliated like this. "If only I could get back to the underworld, I wouldn't be in this pathetic state." Before he could finish, Vanquis, in Subaru's body, slapped his head clean off. "There are no ugly people, only those who don't know how to use their assets." Clearly, Vanquis inside Subaru had taken his appearance to a whole new level, looking so cool it was unreal. Killam reattached his head. Vanquis gathered power in his hand and blasted Killam in the chest, sending him flying 8 meters back. Killam gritted his teeth in agony as Vanqui locked his gaze onto him, using the blood curse fusion skill. Killam's body twisted and warped, getting compressed into a ball. He struggled, trying to kick Vanqui, but he just tilted his head to dodge, and Killam broke free from the sphere. Vanquis tapped his thigh in amusement. "Not bad." They traded blows. Every attack Killam threw, Vanquis blocked effortlessly, even managing to punch a hole through Killam's body. Subaru watched the entire battle from inside his own mind. He never imagined Vanqui was this strong. Vanqui laughed. "Well, obviously. Don't judge a book by its cover. Go take a leak and look at yourself in the reflection. Wearing glasses and that tacky vest? You're a total disaster." Subaru was speechless. He wondered how was Killam taking damage when he was so strong? He had fought enemies with regeneration before, but they never took serious damage until their MP ran out. Vanquis happily explained, "That's the curse. I've infused it into the blood. It's a curse that deals deep damage to the opponent's very soul. This technique works even on regenerating enemies and formless spirits." "What kind of move is that? Sounds like something a villain would use." Killam clenched his fists, screaming, "Don't you dare look down on me, you damn bloodsucker!"